Hello. Welcome to AVG Fantasy Football Podcast, episode 37, part of our division rankings. We got a lot going on today. It's going to be a great episode. I'm excited, and I'm sure you're excited if you're listening to this right now, because you know why? Because football season is about to start. We're seeing all these videos from training camps. Everybody looks good. Everybody looks like they're playing. It looks like we've defeated the well-known pandemic known as COVID-19. And so we're going to defeat it, and we're going to defeat your fantasy league with this fantasy information. And I'm here with your boy T, also known as Tyler Revelis. Follow him on Twitter. It's your boy T. Links down in the description. And I'm also here with Dre, Andre Navarro, tweets by Dre. Follow him on Twitter. Links down in the description as well. All right.
Hola.
You know what we're talking? Oh, also, my name is Michael Marcano.
There it is.
But here we go for video listeners. If you want to see, this is what we're doing today. We got, for our division breakdowns, we got the AFC South. Bam. Look at that. Right up there, covering over Tyler and Dre's head. But that's what we're talking about today, AFC South. We got the Texans. We got the Titans. We got the Jaguars. And we got the Colts, baby. A lot of things changing in the offseason, and we're here to let you know what's happening, what players are relevant, what players to draft, and what players to avoid on each of these teams. It's a big, you need to know this information. So listen in. Tune in. Tune in, you big boys. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. Just search AVG Fantasy Football. If you're listening to us on audio, go check us out on the Apple Podcast app. Scroll all the way down, leave us a rating and a review. Helps us out big time in the podcast world, and we appreciate every time you do that. Like I said, it really, really helps us out. So go ahead and do that. If you need any other daily information, we're always posting rankings, just random interesting stats of the day. That's on Instagram, on Twitter. Check us out. All those links are down in the description below. If you want easy navigation, through the episode, go ahead and look in the description as well. I go ahead and I timestamp everything we talk about and when we talk about it. So if you're on YouTube, you can just click the timestamp and it will navigate you straight to that part of the podcast. Or if you're on audio, you're going to have to scrub through depending on whatever app you use. But that timestamp is there, so you can just scroll through and navigate through the episode more easily that way. Just look for table of contents in the description, and that will help you out big time. Big time.
There it is.
So let's get into it. Got all that out of the way. All right, let's go in right away. We're going to go and starting this AFC South breakdown. We're going to be talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. We're going to start it off like we always do with the quarterback. We got Gardner Mineshew, who came out of nowhere. Was he undrafted or was he just late?
He's a late round quarterback.
He's a late round draft. Okay.
Yeah.
But Gardner Mineshew lit up the league last year. What are you guys' thoughts? Are you going to take him as a late round draft pick as your second quarterback, or are you in the Minshew mania hype? What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, he goes late round in the real NFL draft, comes in, like you said, lights it up. Kind of came out of nowhere, especially because they signed Nick Foles, to this big contract. Supposed to be the guy there. He gets hurt halfway through the game. Minshew comes in and kind of just, like I said, lights it up. But, he's one of my favorite late-round quarterbacks you can grab. I mean, his ADP isn't really anything crazy. You can get him in the 12th round or later, especially a guy you can pair, and matchup base with another quarterback and just play the matchup. So, yeah, I do like Gardner Minshew. I mean, he finished QB 19 last year in only 14 games. But the thing I like seeing about him right here, he's actually the highest-graded rookie per Pro Football Focus, over guys like Kyler Murray and Danny Dimes and stuff like that. Those guys actually had some pretty good rookie campaigns, but just to think that a guy like Gardner Minshew had a higher grade compared to them. But, fourth best deep ball completion percentage at 45%. He had 16 money throws. Those were more than Jimmy G, Jared Goff, Ryan Tannehill, and Phillip Rivers that we'll talk about later. And then he had the fifth best play action completion percentage I mean, and when you think about what the Jaguars are probably going to try and do, you have a big boy like Leonard Fournette back there. The play action is always going to be available because, I mean, you definitely have to take accountability for Leonard Fournette being back there in the backfield. So, yeah, I do like me some Minshew mania, especially, like I said, in these later rounds. You're not paying a high draft price for him. You can get him and dial up Minshew.
I'm down to dial up Minshew as a especially matchup basis, like you're saying. Hell yeah, I'm with it. Are you on the mustache train?
I mean,
Andre
as long as it's not the mustache ride, yeah, I'm for sure down. I got it. Yeah, I'm with it. I mean, he was 5th in quarterbacks and rushing yards, 513 yards. 344 on 67 attempts, average 5.13 yards. I mean, anytime he can get a sneaky, any kind of rushing yards from any one of your quarterbacks. He didn't have any rushing touchdowns from what I saw, but he's able to extend plays. And like T said, I mean, for an undrafted guy who's still getting the job done all the way around, I mean, he's definitely worth the flyer. I mean,
the thing you like to see is, like I said, they signed Nick Foles. He was the big free agency splash for them. They obviously draft Minshew just, for depth or whatever it could be. But, Foles leaves, he goes to Chicago, so Minshew's the guy. And, they didn't go out and sign any big names in free agency. They didn't go out and really draft anybody. I don't even know if they drafted a quarterback at all. They pretty much are giving him the keys to the car and saying, hey, we believe in the stash. We believe in you to take over and kind of, be the guy for us. So, there's no one breathing down his neck or, a risk that he could lose his job potentially. But just, hashtag interesting stat right here. You got Jay Gruden. He's the new offensive coordinator for the Jaguars. But back from 2015 to 2017, in those 3 seasons when Jay Gruden was the coach for the Washington Redskins, in his system, Cousins finished as QB8, QB5, and QB6. And I'm not saying that Minshew's as good as Cousins, but, I mean, to think that he could put up similar numbers or in that area, I think he's being just, like, highly undervalued and highly underrated for what he could be. I think he's being ranked outside of the top 20. I know the quarterback position is actually pretty deep, but, I mean, like I said, a guy where, especially you, Mike, I know you like to wait on quarterbacks. I mean, here's a guy, if you're going to wait on quarterback, and you want to grab 2 different guys so you can play the matchups like I always say, I think he's one of the perfect candidates to just grab in these later rounds.
Yeah, definitely. I'm with Minshew mania.
He's definitely slept on. He's definitely slept on.
Especially like Kirk Cousins is, with that comparison, Kirk Cousins is very similar in that way that you can play him in matchups. So, yeah. Before
I just don't think
Minnesota.
I just don't think. I don't mean to cut you off. I just don't think this it's not the Jacksonville Jaguars defense anymore. It's not that defense that was lights out a couple years ago. They lost a lot of those players, and this defense could be one of the worst defenses in the entire NFL actually. So I think there's going to be a lot of game scripts where they're playing catch up, and you're going to see a lot of Minshew mania, mustache slinging the ball around the field. So
for sure,
yeah, I'm with it.
I agree.
All right, we can. That being said, you think that this team is no longer going to be a defensive team. So, rushing upside, do you like Leonard Fournette? I know you've kind of gone back and forth on your thoughts on him, Tyler. What do you guys both think as a whole? Are you going to draft Leonard Fournette this year, or is he not? He's not going to give you what you want.
I mean, in the words of T, if I can get him as my 3rd running back, if he can fall to me as my 3rd running back, I'll take him. I mean,
he could. He's going. He's going in the 3rd or 4th round of the ADP. Yeah. So there is a scenario where he could be your 3rd running back.
So I mean, for what I wrote down here, I mean, I put heavy regression in pass game. Jesus, 76 catches, but he didn't have a single touchdown. He was heavily targeted, over 90 targets. But yeah, he only had 3 touchdowns the whole season. So where I see the regression in the pass, he should make up for it in touchdowns. But I just don't see him getting that involved in the pass game again. I mean, it was pretty rare to see. I mean, I was surprised. I mean, coming from year 2 to year 3, he like doubled, even more than that as far as like his catches. So this year it was pretty. I mean, as far as a fantasy season, it wasn't that great for him, but he made up for it with the catches. But 3 touchdowns, I mean, that's pretty weak. In a bad offense too. I mean, they didn't score many points. They just couldn't find ways to get him into the end zone.
Yeah, I mean, the 100 targets, 76 receptions, 522 receiving yards, I think that was kind of a fluke. Yeah, I mean, especially with them bringing a guy like Chris Thompson, we'll touch on him after we talk about Fournette, but he's the real pass catching running back in this offense here. I think Fournette goes back to the targets are definitely
40 targets.
in that area. But I mean, the thing I do like Fournette.
We're on NFL
we are
Network.
on
Keep
NFL
going,
Network
dude.
Live.
Keep going. We're good.
But no, I mean, he finishes RB7 in PPR, RB9.5 point. Obviously, the 76 receptions helped him a lot there. But I do like Fournette, especially at that third-round price tag. I mean, a guy who's going to see, I mean, in his 2 healthy seasons, he saw 268 rushing attempts and 265 rushing attempts. So, I mean, he's the guy. I do know that, there was, contract dispute, or they were trying to trade him and ship him off somewhere, but they couldn't find a buyer or they weren't getting what they wanted for him. But I mean, when he's there, I can't imagine a scenario where he's not going to see another 260 rushing attempts. And I mean,
100%.
in one year he had 9 touchdowns. One year he had 5. He was on pace to get 10, but he got hurt. And then last year, only 3 touchdowns on 260 plus rushing attempts. I mean, that's just insane to think that if he gets another 260 rushing attempts, that he's not going to be back to that 8, 9, 10 area range right there. When they get in close, they're not going to give the ball to Chris Thompson. He's a tiny little scat back. He's still the bruiser. He's still like the big boy we always joke around.
Big
But yeah, I mean, in the third round, depending on how your draft unfolds or where you're at, I'm not mad at taking a shot on Leonard Fournette. I don't know why people are just automatically writing him off. I feel like he's kind of being overlooked, or people are kind of talking shit about him because they want to trade him, or they don't even want him there. But it's like, okay, but he's still super talented, and he's still a big boy, like we say, and he's got speed, his ability to make plays happen, and we always preach on volume,
Yeah, that's one thing that you just can't argue with. If he's just been getting the volume, and and in this day and age, you see a lot more running back by committee, and it doesn't seem like the Jaguars are doing that.
Yeah,
much as
in those 2
teams.
years where he got the 260 plus rushing attempts, he topped 1,000 yards in both those years. So I mean, I think he gets another 250 plus rushing attempts at a minimum. And I think he eclipses over the 1,000 yards. And I think that touchdown regression goes back up to the mean, like I said, 8, 9, 10 area, total touchdowns.
Yeah, because, 100%. People are, including us, looking at, the catches and the targets. But, he had a career high in rushing yards and yards per carry. So, it's not like he's getting better in passing and getting worse in running. He's still good. He's 25, 26 years old. He's going into his 4th year. it's now maybe does a team that he's on, do they like him? No, but fuck, he's still a productive player.
He's still their best running back
for sure.
on that team.
You got James Robinson if he gets hurt, because Chris Thompson ain't gonna do shit. So,
do you guys want to speak on Chris Thompson then?
Yeah, we can touch on Chris Thompson.
He's gonna touch.
Touch on Chris Thompson. So we got Chris Thompson here. Obviously, he goes to the Jaguars. What are your thoughts on the guy? Obviously, you said that you don't think. Just go ahead. What do you?
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, because you see 100 targets, 76 receptions from Fournette, and you're thinking like, oh, that's even if he does a little bit less than that, that's still a lot of receptions, a lot of targets. But like Andre touched on, he pretty much doubled his whole career total in one season. And obviously Chris Thompson, you see these highlights right here. He played on the Redskins with Jay Gruden, who is the new offensive coordinator. So obviously, Jay Gruden brought him over for a reason. I can't imagine a scenario where they don't utilize him. One thing with Chris Thompson I can say is he just can't seem to stay healthy. That guy, I don't know what it is. He's always getting banged up. He's not the biggest guy, but he is a smaller little scat back. And I think it was 4 or 5 straight years he's had 48 or more targets. So I think he'll take a huge chunk of those targets from Leonard Fournette, and he'll be utilizing the passing game. He could be a sneaky, deep PPR flex guy.
You could get lucky and have him as a nice if in a full point PPR, the same way James White helps you out. Maybe not as much, but he's not the main guy, but for pass catching for sure.
Yeah, to me he's like a Tariq Cohen. He just can't seem to stay healthy. But if he could put a full 16 games together, and like I said, I think this defense is going to be pretty bad. They're going to be a lot of game scripts where they're from behind, they're chasing. So, like I said, he could be a sneaky PPR guy going forward.
No,
I like it.
Jay Gruden loves him. I remember the year I found it 2017. He was balling. He only played in 10 or 11 games. He played in 10 games, and he still managed to be the number 28 PPR running back. To miss 6 games, he was still extremely productive. He had 4.59 yards a carry. He had 2 rushing touchdowns, but he had 4 receiving touchdowns. And through 10 games, he had 39 catches for 510 receiving yards. So he wasn't really used as, he was pretty much like a James White. And he was like Jay Gruden's, James White. I mean, if you extend that to 16 games, he had about 800 yards through 10 games and 6 touchdowns. So, I mean, like you said, he always finds ways to get hurt, whether it's a concussion or something else, because he is a smaller guy. But if you can keep him on the field, and whether it, third down situations, he's extremely productive. And Jay Gruden, the big thing is that he trusts him,
Yeah.
Because especially with young guys after him, you have James Robinson, who's a young guy, rookie, and then Raquel Armstead from Temple. So it's like and especially he doesn't really know them, so he definitely brought in Chris Thompson, and he trusts him, so he's going to find the field, and as long as he can stay healthy, he can definitely be a sneaky ass pick, especially in PPR leagues. Standard, he'll still be good, but in PPR, he should be good as long as he can stay on the field.
Yeah, I mean, you got to imagine Jay Gruden has got some plays dialed up for him already, like, specific plays like, hey, this is a Chris Thompson play, bubble screen, whatever it may be.
Right, for sure.
Yeah, because he was a top, I mean, I'm looking at his games. So before he got hurt, 2017, this is half-point fantasy. He had 13.6, 24, 28, 0.2, 15, 15, 11, 6, 9. I mean, he was... For a dude who's and he never exceeded 80% snap share or snap percentage, he was always around that like 40 to 60 because he's a third down back. I mean, just to be on the field for that amount of time and be that effective is impressive.
And I know one thing too, if Anthony was here, he's busy. He's got some things going on too with some family, but I know one thing he could say is, even though Fournette had 76 receptions, he would say they were the ugliest 76 receptions he's probably ever seen. Obviously, Chris Thompson, if he was to get 76 receptions, he's, he has the ability, quick, shifty little guy,
get you 800.
To be able to make some plays happen. So yeah, just another weapon for Minshew. Another reason why I think we're high on Minshew.
Yeah, and he's 29, which is crazy to think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like when you see these guys just getting battered left and right, I don't know, you feel like they're older.
But he's still, for his career, he's averaging right around like 9 or 10 yards per catch. So, I mean, other than his rookie year. So, he's, as long as he can stay healthy, I mean, he's going to get you, he's going to be serviceable, I guess would be the best word. He's definitely serviceable.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, dial up Chris Thompson in full-point PPR league, possibly. I'll do a late round flyer, maybe.
Late round sleeper, maybe. Don't draft him early, but that's what we're saying.
I mean, unless you want to, dude.
Hey, Mike, what would you call him?
He's what would you call him, dude?
Oh, what a sleeper.
I honestly thought you were. You know what's funny?
You thought I was talking though with him?
No, I actually thought you were going to call him a little boy.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a big boy.
That's actually what I thought you were going to call him, as a little boy. Whatever. It's all relative.
All right. Well, we think he can be serviceable in PPR leagues. Do you think this next guy is going to be serviceable in PPR leagues? We got wide receiver Dede Westbrook. I think we made it was Dede that had the rapport with Nick Foles last year, correct?
Somebody did.
Dede had a rapport with Nick Foles.
Yeah, I think we were hyped on Dede because Nick Foles kind of tends to favor the slot guy a little bit more. Yeah. I think that's why I think when we broke down the Bears, we were talking about Anthony Miller potentially being, if Foles takes over, he could really, see an uptick.
But obviously that doesn't work if Nick Foles gets injured in the first game of the year.
Yeah. I mean, I still think Dede's a really good football player. I always say Biletnikoff Award winner. I think he's a super talented football player. In terms of like fantasy, I think he's just more of a PPR guy. I'm not sure if I can trust him in half-point PPR or in standard. But I mean, he's yet to top 750 yards, and he's never had more than 66 receptions. So, yeah. I mean, and then you bring guys like Laviska, Shenault in. You do bring in a guy like Chris Thompson, Tyler Eifert, a tight end, who could be a red zone guy. So, yeah, we were kind of high on Dede Westbrook, I think, last year before, Nick Foles being there. But I'm not as high on him this year. I mean, maybe just a depth guy. He's a wide receiver 3 for me. But, yeah, I can't see too much value, really, for Dede.
And standard for sure.
I've never been – I mean –
Get out of my little laboratory, Dede.
He was a productive college player for sure. What I think is crazy is what you're going to get. He has back-to-back seasons of 101 targets and 66 catches. So I mean that's where he's at. I really wish he was on the Saints. I feel like he would be like a really good number 2 to Michael Thomas. Like, I don't know how that works. I'm not a GM. I'm just a guy, but
You are a GM.
just
That's
work
what fantasy football is all
yeah,
about.
dude,
Actually,
just hand me a clipboard, dude. I'm about to actually send my resume. Imagine sending a resume, be like, look at my dynasty picks. I'm fucking pretty good, dude. Like, can I get like a mini GM job? Like, I don't miss.
the Texans are like, you're hired.
You're like, I've won my dynasty league 3 years in a row. Come on, dude.
It's like, dude, I haven't missed on a pick in 3 years. Like, come on. Yeah. No, I think he's a good player, but I mean, 66 catches. Like he said, he's never passed 750. Maybe he needs to change the scenery, but for now, like you said, he's like a what would we call it, a third option. You know, maybe Gardner Minshew.
He's a top 50 receiver, I think.
Yeah,
but he's
sure.
nothing sexy. You know?
And he's still young. He's only 26 years old. I mean, he's got to be coming in on the latter end of his rookie contract. So whether they re-sign him or not, who knows? But yeah, I mean, he's a productive player. I mean, he's had some bad quarterbacks, and he's happened to do good with them. So, or not bad, but you know, not as refined or polished as other NFL guys.
Blake Bortles is not a good quarterback.
Listen, he has no Duck Hodges.
Yeah.
That's what I'm. No Jake Finleys and shit like that.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, yeah, he's
Baker Mayfield's.
He's in dynasty leagues. He's definitely rosterable. He shouldn't be on the waiver wire in that regard. And I mean, you never know. He could be like a weekly flyer, but talented guy. I'm not mad at him.
Yeah. All right, you guys want to talk about this next receiver here?
No. Yes.
All right, we got DJ Chark. If you had DJ Chark last year, you were a happy fantasy football camper, as we like to say on the podcast. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
But yeah, so what are you targeting DJ Chark, or is there too much hype behind him after last year? What are you guys thinking?
No. I mean, he started a lot stronger and had his finish was a little bit on the slower side, but the dude stayed on the field. I mean, his snap percentage rarely dipped below. I mean, week 17 is different, but his snap percentage after week 9, even when he wasn't doing as good as he was the first 9 weeks, it never really dipped underneath 88%. I mean, he's got the trust. He's been there. He knows the offense. He's going to be the number one. So I mean, he's definitely worth 5th round, 6th round, right?
Yeah, I think he's going he's got like a 5th round ADP right here. I mean, like you said, he had a hot start, but then he did kind of fizzle out towards the end. I was looking at some numbers right here. I mean, second-year guy, he's pretty much went undrafted in most leagues, or if anyone who drafted him, you took a late round flyer on him. He was one of those like week 1. He had a monster week 1. I think it was like 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, or something stupid like that. And, he was like the hot commodity after that week 1 game on the waiver wire. But so this year he's gonna get a lot of attention. But he's got like a 5th round ADP right here. To me, it's kind of like like I said, we're high on Minshew, and I do think this defense is going to be pretty bad. They're going to be a lot of shootouts. So I do think he's going to be a serviceable guy. He's a good wide receiver too, but I think I'd feel a little more comfortable if he was my flex receiver instead of like my wide receiver too. He's kind of a poor man's Amari Cooper to me in a sense,
Oh my goodness.
But you're getting him a couple rounds later. Now, let me tell you why though. So he had 9 games under 75 yards. That's not good. He had 3 games over 100 yards. In all 3 of those games, he got you 22 or more points. He had 7 games in half-point PPR with 12 or more points. He had 8 games under 10 points. So, I mean, he's just kind of like, the guy that jumped in my mind when I was always looking at these numbers and stuff was Amari Cooper, and how, Amari Cooper can put up these monster games, 20-plus point games, but then Mario Cooper will give you some of these games under 10 points, and you're just thinking, like, what are you doing? But here's the difference. Amari Cooper's going in, like, the 3rd round, but you can get DJ Chark in the 5th, 6th round, and I would much rather have DJ Chark in the 5th, 6th round instead of wasting a 3rd round pick on Amari Cooper. I know it's your boy, Dre, and you're probably eyeing me from the side, but...
I wouldn't say waste.
You're probably looking at me over here like...
Why is everyone so fucking stupid?
No, I mean, I like Chark. I was surprised he had 5 tugs through 5 games. After week 5, he had 3 touchdowns the rest of the season. So, that you can't attribute that even as when I back up Amari. It's not all his fault. Sometimes it is a QB, and it's in Amari's case, it's not as much as DJ Chark. DJ Chark's definitely is the QB. I mean, he had some games where he just, he couldn't be found. I mean, 9 targets, 4 catches, 15 targets, 8 catches. I mean, that's not too good. 12 targets, 6 catches. I mean, I think once as another season goes on, the chemistry will go up with him and Gardner Minshew. So, I mean, young guy, 30 year in the league. I see him getting another 8 to 9 touchdowns. And I think this year it's going to be more of a consistency thing. I think he's gotten used to being the number one. He's going to be seeing, number one coverage and shit like that. So I think he'll be able to kind of be more consistent, throughout the season instead of kind of being so top heavy and then kind of fizzling off. And I mean, it comes with the offense, or it just comes with being a professional. I mean, wide receiver isn't the easiest position.
Yeah.
So I think he'll learn more nuances, whether, out route running or getting separation or just being more consistent through and through. I think he'll be a good value pick in the 5th round, I think, for sure.
For sure, yeah. I think he's one of these you always talk about. I think we've been, doing these mock drafts. Me personally, at least, I do like to stack up on some running backs right away because I feel like when you get to the 4th, 5th, 6th round, especially in this division, there's a lot of, these good receivers that you could get right here. I mean, like I said, I think he's a good, wide receiver too. But if he's my wide receiver 3, there's a lot of wide receiver 3 leagues. If he's my wide receiver 3 flex guy, I think he's dialed up. But just a hashtag interesting stat. Since 2018.
DJ Chark as your wide receiver 5, bro. Bro,
I have so many T names for you.
Anyways, but since 2018, interesting stat here. Since 2018, when he came into the league, he's one of 4 receivers to not drop a catchable pass. So, sure hands. I mean, you like seeing that.
For sure.
So yeah, I mean,
which if you're gonna compare to Amari Cooper,
bing, bing, bing.
I was just comparing Amari Cooper's 9 drops last year. But I'm just saying with the boom bust potential of what he has. I think he's got the boom games where I think he's going to have some monster games. But I do think there's going to be some games where he disappears. Obviously, I'm just going off what I saw last year. Things can change every year, potentially.
And he's not in a particular.
But I do like Chark. I'm not trying to discredit him. I do like Chark. He's one of my favorite targets in these middle rounds. Like I said, if I'm going to load up on running backs early, or maybe I go quarterback early, tight end early. He's one of these wide receivers I don't mind grabbing in the middle rounds because I think the value for these middle round receivers is just crazy.
That is a good point about middle round. Yeah, I feel like that's where a lot of people struggle in their drafts is those middle rounds. So if you can have a guy in your in the back of your head for these middle rounds to target, that's always good. Because I think that's the biggest struggle. You know who you're getting in the first couple rounds from if you do a little bit of research, but once you start getting these middle rounds, it gets a little dicey.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say he's not in a particularly strong cornerback division like the AFC East where they got just a plethora of lockdown corners. There really isn't any one I could think of literally off the top of my head to where he can get locked up. There's not. The Texans don't really have one I can think of.
Cut 2 comments of, dude, are you kidding me? The Texans just signed this guy.
Exactly. They signed him. He's a free agent because nobody wanted his bitch ass, and that's why he's a free agent. If he was nice, he would have got re-signed. Find your boy.
And there would have been multiple articles, and
he was on the Lions, and he got released. So, yeah, he's in a division where there's not strong cornerback play like that. So, I mean, he's, a bigger body, so it should work out for him, I think.
I love it. All right, well, let's move on to the last receiver we're going to cover in Jacksonville. Rookie Laviska Shenault Jr. We weren't impressed with the rookie. At least Tyler wasn't.
Yes.
I was not.
I was.
Tweets by Dre was. So, make your arguments, boys. Why are you taking him? Why are you not taking him?
I like him from what I've been saying. He's a football player. I mean, dude played quarterback, H-back, wide receiver, kick returner. And the thing that I like best is that he's out there aiming. I was just telling my boy T before we started recording how he's just telling DJ Chark, he's aiming. He's I want to be the number one guy. Granted, he's probably not going to get it, but just the fact that that's how he is. He's a competitive guy. And, I mean, in pads, he's a big fucking dude. 6'2", 227, solid muscle. He reminds me of a bigger Anquan Bolden. But, I mean, with him, it's health. If he played college football and didn't get hurt, he would have been a top 20, 25 pick. There wouldn't have been any problems because the dude loves football through and through. And what I've been reading is it's kind of starting to stand out in camp where the coaches are just this dude's just a grinder. He's all about football, all about, trying to get better. So I just like that aspect. There's some guys that kind of rest on their laurels once they get drafted and they don't work as hard. but he's out there trying to grind it out. So, and he went to a perfect landing spot. They need his type of player or his type of skill set because he can do everything. You know, they need some like flash plays. He can do the end arounds. He can do all that kind of shit. So, yeah.
What's like his like for dynasty drafts? Where is he going in like the second round?
Yeah, second round. Anywhere from like 14 to 24, just depending on need or whatever it is that you like. But I mean, I'd snag his ass up. To me, if he could just stay healthy, I think he'll be okay.
I mean, I do think the guy's super talented. I mean, you see here, he lines, he can line up in the backfield, wildcat. He's going out here lining up wide and stuff like that. I do think he's super talented. I'm not sure if he's going to make an impact in my opinion, as a rookie right off the jump. I mean, he's still got to, DJ Chark is obviously the number one. And we saw the rapport with him and Minshew right off the jump. And you still got Dede Westbrook there. They still have Chris Conley, who's down there for one more year. Like I said, you get Chris Thompson, you get Tyler Eifert. These are just more pieces to the offense, more mouths to feed. I think, you do have Dede Westbrook in his contract year. Chris Conley's in his contract year. So potentially next year we could see a scenario where it is DJ Chark and Laviska Shenault. And then I might be a little bit more inclined to be hyped on him. I do think in dynasty drafts, obviously you want to go get this guy because, he could be something special. I mean, like he's versatile. He's got a special skill set. He's a big guy. You can move him all over the field. But he just reminds me of a Cordell Patterson. And, Cordell Patterson obviously is a good football player, but in terms of fantasy, he's just not he's just not very good. So we'll see. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. But in redraft leagues, I'm probably not touching him. Like I said, I think he's, third or fourth in the pecking order over there, especially for, you still got Fournette, getting rushing touchdowns and stuff like that. But going forward, like I said, Dede, Chris Conley, those guys are in contracts here. They could not be there next year, and we could really see Laviska Shenault emerge in year two. He could be next year's DJ Chark.
He reminds me of a combination of pad size of A.J. Brown. That's what he looks like. When you get the ball in his hands and he's in open space, he reminds me of A.J. Brown with a combination of Deebo Samuel. That's what I think of because he once he gets the ball, he's a running back. He's big and he has good field vision. So that's what I think. Those two players. Am I crazy? Maybe it could be crazy.
Maybe a little bit.
But I'll tell you what. If Deebo Samuel and him were in the same draft, he would have gone over Deebo Samuel for sure. And if you put him on the Niners last year, it would have been over. Just saying. They
could use him now.
100%. It just goes to show you landing spot does matter, but it's health with him because he's only played like 20-something games in college. He's uber productive, but yeah, it's availability, best ability, right, T?
Best ability.
Availability.
He's definitely like in redraft leagues. He could definitely probably not get drafted. So I guess it would be definitely a good.
Definitely, probably not is the best way to put that.
Well, I was just gonna say he's a good name to know. So possibly picking him up if there is some wide receiver injuries or offensive injuries in Jacksonville in the future. You know what I mean? So you just keep that in the back of your head at least for redraft leagues.
Yeah, late round, like last round in your last
Take
pick
a
in your
shot,
draft.
dude.
Lottery
take a shot, take a chance.
I mean, he ran. I watched him run his 40, and he's the only dude that ran it in a loose shirt, and they were like giving him shit about it, and he still ran like a 4.5 with a core injury. I've never had a core injury. I couldn't imagine, but I've also never ran a 4.5. So.
Yeah.
It's like he ate too much.
I mean, I have.
Chipotle.
I'm actually Sean Taylor, so I actually have ran hella 4.5s. I'm chilling.
4.5.
You spoke on it earlier. You called him a red zone threat, but after all these injuries, I would call him a dead zone threat.
Oh,
got him right in the gut. Zinger. Hello. He's got a core injury. Injuries is the core of this man. We got Tyler Eifert, tight end, gets signed for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew is going to be throwing those mustache ride balls to.
I mean, yeah, you don't get fantasy points for injuries. If you did, he'd be a first-round draft pick.
Him and Jordan Reed would be fighting at the bit.
Yeah. But just another guy. He comes from the Bengals. He's
a Jag.
He's acclimated to.
Did you mean to say that?
Huh?
Did you mean that?
What?
I don't know.
He came from the Bengals.
No, I'm saying, but you said he's just another guy. I don't know if you know that term, a jag.
Oh, Jag. Oh,
Just
he is
another guy.
You're right.
Dog, he's so good. Hey guys, T doesn't even know.
He's
how
a jag.
fucking
Who's
good
a
he
jag?
is.
And I'm a jag off.
Yeah, I'm a fucking jag off too,
I
dude.
didn't mean to cut you off. That was so good. I was like,
But no, yeah. So I mean, he's a guy. He comes from Jay Gruden. Being there at Cincinnati, Jay Gruden was the offensive coordinator with the Bengals. So I think Gruden obviously brings him in because he knows that he could utilize him in some ways. I'm not sure if there's too much fantasy value here for Tyler Eifert. I think if anything, this actually helps Minshew more because now he's got a solid red zone weapon. I mean, the guy's just a big athletic tight end, and as long as he can just stay healthy for 16 games. I mean, maybe a change of scenery. Maybe the cold weather in Cincinnati wasn't doing it for him. Maybe that humid heat in Jacksonville will help him out for some reason, keep him lubricated, or
keep some fluid in his brain, prevent him from being concussed.
But yeah, I think if anything, this helps Minshew more than it actually helps Tyler Eifert.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
but he could be a sneaky guy where you're streaming tight ends potentially. Hey, let's say last year if you're starting all your tight ends against the Cardinals, it didn't matter who it was. You're starting your tight ends against the Cardinals. They couldn't cover any. They couldn't cover any tight ends
or Cardinals.
He could be a guy where you throw in there. When the matchup is juicy, potentially, because, he has that touchdown upside being a red zone threat.
Yep, I agree.
That's all you got on him?
I just feel bad because he was so fucking good, man. And then just injuries and then injuries and then injuries. So
they're like the craziest injuries, too.
Yeah, dude, he broke his ankle and his leg on the same play. Weird, but yeah, just another Jay Gruden guy. I mean, it was good to see him play a full 16 games last year. Because the 3 years before that, he played, I want to say, 14 games in 3 years. So it was just good to see him just withstand a whole season. He's one of those guys that I'm secretly rooting for. I hope he gets 8 or 9 touchdowns. But yeah, he's
you just want to see him comeback player of the year.
Yeah,
tight end's got it before. Just kidding. Okay.
No, he has. Gronk did get it. Yeah. But no, yeah, just like T said, it's a depth move. Jay Gruden's comfortable with him. He's a professional. He's got something to prove. He's got a good contract's good for the team for him. So
yeah, I think what Tyler said, good increase in value for Gardner Minshew. Love it. All right, we can move on to the. Do you want to? Obviously, we just said the defense is not good anymore, so do not draft the Jaguars defense.
Yeah.
If you're thinking they're going to be the Jacksonville defense, they're not going to be.
If you saw the league with defense, don't do it.
So we're going to move on to Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson has some new weapons to throw to, a little Brandin Cooks action and a couple of different guys. What are you guys' thoughts? Are you still – what's Deshaun Watson's ADP right now? Do you know?
He's going in the 5th, 6th round for his ADP. But he's finished the last 2 years as QB4 in back-to-back seasons. One thing I saw here was kind of interesting. I mean, he's had 26 touchdowns in back-to-back years. But he's not really thrown the ball that much. I mean, he's 15th or worse in pass attempts those last 2 years. But he's the 4th most and the 3rd most rush attempts in the last 2 years. Obviously, that's what kind of boosts his value here, the rushing yards. I mean, he's Deshaun Watson. He is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if he's going to finish QB4 again for a 3rd straight year. I think most of us have him pegged for QB6. It's in that give or take in that area. I think that's what it is. He's like a QB4, 5, 6, maybe 7. He's still going to be a top 10 quarterback. It just depends on when do you want to spend a draft pick on a quarterback. Do you want to go early for these Mahomes, Lamar Jackson? Do you want to wait? I know me, you, Mike, we tend to wait a little bit later to get these later round quarterbacks, but or do you want to get Deshaun Watson in the the 5th, 6th round over here? So I think it's just preference on what you want. But I mean, Deshaun's a stud. He does what he does.
He's going to grab you rushing yards. Do you think the Andre Hopkins leaving and Brandin Cooks coming in helps or hurts him?
I think it's going to eventually help him just to be a better quarterback instead of, keying in on one guy 168 million thousand times. I think that'll help him. So now he can maybe see the whole field. And they were talking about
these Deshaun Watson highlights. It's literally like Hopkins.
I mean, and the thing about it's not like it's a bad thing to have a dude who's, like the talent of Deshaun Watson or DeAndre Hopkins. But I think it's just going to help him as far as going through his reads, through his progressions. He's going to have, a variety of guys that can get open. I mean, you got Fuller, you have Cooks, you have Kenny Stills, Kiki Kuti, how the fuck you say his last name. So I think it's going to help. I mean, he sneakily had 7 rushing touchdowns last year, 5 the year before. I mean, if he can get you that 6, I'll take that on top of, like T said, he's not like a, heavy volume pass guy when it comes as far as yards. But he's going to be in a good offense. He's going to have a variety of weapons. They should score the ball and move it. Their defense isn't a stopping type of D by any means. And I think he has something to prove. I mean, I feel like they took his number one guy away, and he's I think he's going to go out there and try to sling that thing a little bit. As long as Will Fuller doesn't hit Brandin Cooks' head and give him a concussion and tear his hamstring, as long as they don't like run into each other and like fuck each other up, I think we're going to be okay. I think they're going to be all right.
Yeah,
and if David Johnson can just be regular, I think we'll be good.
For sure. With that being said, we can jump into
David Johnson.
David Johnson.
David A. Johnson.
I believe it's pronounced David.
What are you guys' thoughts on David Johnson? Obviously, at one point, David Johnson was being drafted number 1 overall in fantasy drafts. This was a while ago, but obviously, at one point in time, this was happening. I was about David Johnson, but his value definitely has gone up since then, since we last talked about him, which is actually, we keep getting comments on the video saying that's on his ADP. This was like 3 months ago. It went up. Okay.
Yeah, for real, cuz.
So what are you guys' thoughts? Are you still drafting David Johnson? Are you about it? He's going to be the number 1 there.
I mean,
are you going the other Johnson? Just kidding.
He's a long way from his 2,100 total yard, 20 touchdown season, which is fucking insane to think about. That was only a couple years ago.
Back in 2016.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, even watching him play, this is what I tell people. If the Cardinals thought David Johnson was that good, they would have kept David Johnson. But I just find it hard pressed to think that he's literally can just fall off the face of the earth. And so does Pups. Pups doesn't think so either. He's pissed off about it. So, yeah, no, I just he's gonna get the opportunity for sure.
It is interesting too because David Johnson, he hurt his wrist. It's not like he had like a ACL or something like that. You know what I mean? For sure. So it is interesting that the Cardinals did get rid of him. Obviously, they found fire in Kenyon Drake, so it kind of makes sense. Yeah. To abandon, I suppose you could say, David Johnson, but they got pretty good value for it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and they got a guy who has something to prove. He's, like I said, I just find it hard pressed to think he has nothing left in the tank. I think he's still got some juice, and no disrespect to Carlos Hyde, even though he came off some say career year. I mean, he did well for them. I feel like he's just an upgrade to Carlos Hyde. So I think as long as he also, I mean, it's been health with him also. So as long as he can stay healthy, he should be decently productive. I'm not as high on him as I thought I would be, but I think it's probably because he's done me dirty a couple times when it comes to fantasy. But he's a guy I'm rooting for. I mean, he's 28 years old already. Fuck, which is also another crazy thing. But I think Deshaun Watson will make his life easier, and he's definitely proficient in the pass game. He can get you. I mean, he's shown it before that he could, line up and go catch the ball. So, I mean, are you going to get the 80 catch David Johnson, or are you going to get the 36 catch David Johnson? I think you'll get right in between, but I think he can get you your 1,400 total yards.
Well, I will say that back in the day, you were drafting Lamar Miller in like the second round, I think, in that same year, and when he was there, and you're grabbing him in the early fourth round, and in these drafts, we've done a lot of mock drafts, and you notice that running back value does like plummet after the first couple rounds. It really is bad. So if you can grab, a number 1 running back on a team in the 4th round, it's not that bad. Originally, when we made the video, it was like 6th round ADP. Yep. So I don't know. I'm not mad at it if you go wide receiver heavy at the beginning, grab a David Johnson. To me, I'm not mad at it. I also like watching him play, and I would like to see him do well this year. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Tyler?
I mean, it's just tough because, I mean, like I said, his bread and butter was, being a 3-down back, rushing the ball and catching the ball. But, I mean, the last 2 years, 3.6 yards per carry, 3.7 yards per carry. And then just looking at what Watson does as a quarterback, I mean, he doesn't really target the running backs. I mean, 79 targets to the running backs as a total 1 year, 68 the other year. The most a running back has ever been targeted is 62 times. That's Duke Johnson, and he's still on the team. So it's not like he's going away anytime soon. I think he's still going to be utilized in the passing game here and there. And then just looking at the snap percentage, I mean, last year, obviously, Hyde, not the greatest pass catcher, and then Duke Johnson, not the biggest running back. But, I mean, it was split even, 47% snap share for Hyde, 47% snap share for Duke Johnson Jr. And then the year before that, Lamar Miller, 52%. And then you have a guy like Alfred Blue who had 39% of the snaps.
I forgot about him.
So it's just I'm not sure. I've been kind of all over the place with David Johnson. I think obviously if you trade D-Hop for him, you got to think that, okay, they're going to give him the go. He's going to be the green light. But then you see these snap percentages here, and it's just like, is he going to be a workhorse back? I mean, like we touched on Fournette, he's getting 260, rushing attempts every single year. He's out there for 16 games. I mean, are we going to see that type of volume with David Johnson, or is Duke Johnson going to be involved? Also, like I said, you have Deshaun Watson, Dre touched on, he had 7 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns. So, those are touchdowns that the running back loses, because the quarterback's rushing these touchdowns. So I'm having a tough time on David Johnson here. I'm not sure how many shares of him I'm going to have. I think he's like a low-end RB2, but I'm just struggling to find the upside of, like I said, 2016 was that crazy good year he had. And I know if Anthony was here, he would say, like, he just doesn't seem, or he just doesn't look
the same
for whatever reason it is. I mean, I don't know what it is, but he just doesn't. And I think, people are just holding on to that vision of that 2016 year where he just kind of blew up. But yeah, he just doesn't look the same to me. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna have any shares of.
I was just making the argument if you're going wide receiver heavy in the beginning, which can happen. I don't know.
For sure, yeah.
I know he might not be
a low end RB2. Yeah,
he might not be the workhorse running back, but if you look in that round, I don't know if you possibly have any pulled up. Like, who else are you going to get in the 4th round? That's going to be, I don't know. I think like you said, he's traded for DeAndre Hopkins. I think you're giving away that much.
Do you take Jonathan Taylor or David Johnson?
I would take David Johnson.
I'm probably taking David Johnson just because he is the one at least, and Jonathan Taylor is probably going to be in a running a thruple. Is that what you called it?
He's in an entanglement.
I don't like.
He's in.
He's in an entanglement with the first and the second team.
I mean, let's just say this: I would rather take
in August.
I would rather take Fournette over David Johnson.
Yeah, I probably would too.
I think I'm taking like my boy David Montgomery as a bounce back, probably over David Johnson, just because I know
I might do that too.
I know he's gonna get. He should at least get, like I said, another 260 carries, give or take somewhere. But I mean, we'll see what happens to David Johnson. He could be one of those guys where change like a Tannehill, change the scenery. Maybe he just needs that.
Because that's what I mean. Is like you're talking about snap percentages, but it's like they just got Kenyon Drake. I mean, obviously before that he was going down too, but it's a different team.
Yeah. Oh, the snap percentages were for the Texans running backs though.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if Duke Johnson. I would assume he's still going to be incorporated in some type of way into this offense. And then you got a lot of mouths to feed in the receiving core as well. So I'm just trying to say, like, I think his bread and butter was he had that cherry on top. He had that the receiving game was part of his arsenal. I'm not sure what the ceiling for his receiving game is anymore. I think it's kind of capped of what he could be. But
no cap.
Maybe I'm like a low-key Cardinals fan because I'm from Arizona.
Maybe.
So maybe perhaps. I'm just like a little giving my boy some love, David Johnson. But
that's not good. I mean, everyone has their guys or the people that they like, and
or their guys.
Yeah. Their guys. Well, that being said, we talked a little bit on Duke Johnson. What do you feel about the Texans running back Duke Johnson? Are you going Duke Johnson Jr., the other Johnson? Are you going to grab Duke Johnson at all? Are you going to have any shares?
The only thing that's going to worry me is if I take a D Johnson, I got to make sure I take the right D Johnson.
I think that's the best advice we could give when we're speaking on Duke Johnson is to make sure you don't draft him instead of David Johnson.
Moral of the story, look at your Johnson, okay? Make sure your Johnson is where you think it is.
Check your damn Johnson.
Check your Johnsons.
XYZ, dude.
And make sure you don't have a Johnson Jr. because you don't want to be walking around with a Johnson Jr.
Yeah, you want that. You want that. That number 31 Johnson, baby.
You don't want that third string Johnson.
You want the senior Johnson.
Yeah, you want
exactly. You don't want to be a Johnson the third either.
You want the big boy.
I ain't got much on him. I mean, he's carved himself a role out in the offense. He's going to catch his balls. And
I do love his balls.
I'm not looking to own him. If someone gets hurt, honestly, I still wouldn't pick him up. I think they'll go and reach out and try to find a free agent. To be honest,
I think if I have David Johnson, I'm going to want to handcuff him with Duke Johnson. For just whatever reason, if David Johnson was to go down, if he gets COVID, it's an automatic 3 weeks he can't play.
That's right.
So if I have David Johnson, I'm probably trying to get Duke Johnson in these later rounds just to kind of protect my investment for that Texans backfield. But outside of that, I'm not really sure. But like I said, he had 62 targets as a running back. That was the most for any running back in the last 2 years with Deshaun Watson back there. That's why I'm saying I feel like the ceiling is kind of capped for what David Johnson can do in the passing game, because Duke Johnson, that's kind of what he is. He's a versatile little scat back guy, but he could be a running back too as well.
Word.
He can be a running back. Let's move on to the wide receivers. We're going to go Brandin Cooks comes in hot to the Houston Texans. No more DeAndre Hopkins, but we got the Los Angeles Rams wide receiver traded, and that was the replacement for Hopkins. A lot of people not happy with Bill O'Brien, the head coach he's a GM too. Right?
Yeah, he's just fucking shit up.
Not a lot of people are very happy with him. But are you going to be happy drafting Brandin Cooks, putting him on your squad, or do you think he just adds value to Deshaun Watson, like you said earlier?
No, he's had 1,000 yards 3 years in a row by 3 different teams. Obviously not the last 3 years because he's been with the Rams, but 2016, 2017, and 2018, he was literally on 3 different teams, and he produced 1,000 yards and at least 5 touchdowns in each season. So
3 different quarterbacks.
3 different quarterbacks, 3 different teams, 3 different. The fact that he's only 26 years old. That's the thing about it. He came into the league at 21 out of Oregon State, and he's literally been balling. Even his rookie year. It's a rookie. You're a rookie. It's tough, but since then he's hit the ground running. Before last year, where it was more of like an injury-riddled season, just kind of like an off-season form in general. Before that, he wasn't outside of the top 15 in full-point PPR on the low, too. He wasn't – no one. I feel like he's been underrated, and the fact that he's only 26, yeah, sign me up. He's going to get – I think if he's healthy, he's going to get you anywhere from 72 to 85 catches, get you 1,000 yards, and, at least 5 or 6 touchdowns. I don't know. As long as he might get you 4 concussions too, though. So you got to weigh it out. He's 1 concussion away from being a concussion away. So I don't know. He said he's not worried about it. He said he's ready to wipe the slate clean. But he's obviously, who the fuck wouldn't say that? So
if you're in a PPC league, point per concussion league,
you're good.
Dial it up, dude.
Yeah, he's a wide receiver 1, dude. Locked and fucking loaded.
609.
So yeah, T, go ahead.
I love Brandin Cooks. I feel like he's being slept on heavily. Heavily. Like you just said. 4 straight years with 1,000+ yards, minus last year when he had the injury-riddled season. 110+ targets in all 4 of those years, and then like Dre said, top 15 in all 4 of those seasons in half-point and full-point PPR. I just can't imagine a scenario where, like I said, he was top 15 in all 4 of those years when he got 1,000 yards, but he's ranked outside of the top 30 in receivers right now.
Every year.
I just don't know how. No, not every year. He's ranked out of the top 30 receivers this year. I don't understand how. Here's a guy, if he's healthy, he's done it. Multiple systems, multiple quarterbacks, and if he gets 1,000 yards, he's going to get you. He's going to be a top 15 wide receiver, but why is he being ranked right now outside of the top 30? I think he's one of the biggest steals in the draft, and this is what I'm talking about, where I feel like you can load up on running backs. If you want to reach for Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, one of these tight ends, Kelsey Kittle in these early rounds, I'm happier than a pig in shit to grab Brandin Cooks in the 5th round, give or take whatever it is. I think you got right there the 609 in the 6th round right there, but 5th, 6th round, I just think the value is crazy good right there. Former Biletnikoff winner. I just don't think that you're not talented if you obviously you're talented if you're going to multiple systems with multiple quarterbacks
and excelling
in every single one. So you're just good, yeah. And then just hashtag interesting stat right here. Since 2016, he has the 3rd most receptions of 30 or more receiving yards. And then last year, I know D-Hop is a different animal compared to Brandin Cooks, but last year D-Hop had 85 targets of 10 or more yards. That was 4th most in the NFL. So Deshaun Watson, he likes to go deep, and Brandin Cooks, he's a guy who can get you those deep 30+ yard receptions. So yeah, I love Brandin Cooks. He's going to be a guy I'm targeting. I'm probably going to be reaching for him a round or 2 earlier, just because I think he could be one of the biggest steals on draft day for you.
Yeah, and I think he's just a victim of the Rams because, I mean, I've been there. I've been like, oh, fuck, Cooper Kupp, Brandin Cooks, Robert
You've been
Woods.
on the Rams?
Oh, I mean, I have. I said I got to come record, so they cut me. You'll see that on Hard Knocks next episode. I take it like a champ. I'm like, Coach.
By the way, Hard Knocks is coming out
I know, dude.
today.
Dude, it's a good segue. I get cut. Why do you think I'm here?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so
that's wild.
Either way, yeah.
That's why you missed the 2 podcasts ago, huh?
Yeah, I was getting cut. I know.
Yeah, it's
but
rough.
hey, but I'm about my shit. I'm here. Anyways, Brandin Cooks, my guy. He's why I didn't make it, but yeah, I think he's been a victim of having Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods there, and I think that's why people are so, skeptical as far as taking one of them. But the dude gets it done. I mean, it's one of those hindsight things. It's like if someone tells you he's going to get 1,000 and 5 touchdowns, fuck where you get him, just get him, and then just let him do his thing. So,
Love Brandin Cooks.
Yeah.
Love me some Brandin Cooks. Yeah. I'm about that, dude. I like to hear that. Let's move on to our next wide receiver in Houston. We'll go on to Will Fuller. Will Fuller.
I'll just say something quick here, and then I'll let Dre go in because I know this is his guy. But, I mean, one of the reasons why I am so high on Brandin Cooks is because Will Fuller just can't seem to stay healthy for whatever it is. And I think it's kind of he's joking around, like if Brandin Cooks falls and gets concussion and hits Will Fuller in the knee and tears his ACL. I mean, that
could happen.
That's for sure in the realm of possibility with those guys' luck of getting injured. But, I mean, let's just say for a scenario, if Will Fuller, just the trend continues, he can't stay healthy. I mean, I think Brandin Cooks' value just shoots up through the roof. And,
for sure.
He's seeing those DeAndre Hopkins targets, 130, 140 targets. But if Will Fuller stays healthy, I mean, the guys, like I said, Dre's going to drop all the stats and drop some knowledge on you right here. He's going to drop some dumb fire knowledge.
that was good. That sounded like somebody.
Hey, our roommate Justin, also known as The Rock Johnson, he wanted to be on the podcast, and look,
yeah,
we brought him on with the drop.
But yeah, no, I think as long as Will Fuller is healthy, the guy's talented, and he should be in your lineup because at any given week he could give you 30, 40 points. But yeah, I'll let Dre take over on this one.
Yeah, Will Fuller. I mean, he's only played in. Well, we'll start with the bad or ish, right? He's only played in 65% of his games. That's all the bad that I have. That's pretty much it. So no.
Yeah, he's just if he can just stay healthy. I think that's it. It's like when you're drafting him, you're just rolling the dice if he's gonna get hurt or not. And if he doesn't get hurt, he's not gonna bust. He's not gonna be a bum. He's not gonna be a scrub. His biggest thing is can he just stay healthy? And if he stays healthy, the sky's the limit for that guy.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, I mean, we'll start how he makes Deshaun Watson better. So, since 2017, with Will Fuller on the field, Deshaun Watson's deep throw percentage is 43.2%. Without Will Fuller, it is 34.3%. So that's a pretty big drop off. His attempted deep pass or his attempts of deep passes when Will Fuller is on the field is 17%. When he's not on the field, it's 11%. Obviously, the fucking average is 14. It's still fifth in the NFL at 14%. So when Will Fuller's on the field, he is top 3 as far as deep throw percentage, completion percentage. Will Fuller for his career in 4 years, even though he's not always on the field, it's 14.4 yards per reception, which I think is crazy. And then the craziest stat that I still think that I have, actually I have one more bad stat. He has 20 of the 42 games that he's played, he has gotten under 6 fantasy points. But he's only been targeted double digits in his career 4 times. And in those 4 games, he averages 7.7 catches, 141 yards, and a touchdown, which will win you a week every single time. I mean, one of those games he had 14 catches for 217 and 3 touchdowns. But, I mean, the dude, when he plays, he's efficient, and he lines up inside and outside. 2018 in 7 games, he lined up in the slot 26.9% of the time. Last year, he lined up in the slot 21.7%. This year, he's probably going to get asked to go out, a little bit more on the outside. But the fact that he knows that the fact that he can line up in the slot, I think is just a plus for the team. I mean, the dude balls all the way around. He just has to stay healthy because when he does, T sent me a video of the game where Fuller had 3 touchdowns. He got tackled on the 1 yard line, twice?
Yeah.
So he could have easily had 5 touchdowns in one game, and he should have. It's actually kind of crazy, but 26 years old. He's on the last year of his rookie contract. from what I'm reading, even the Texans are like, bro, just stay healthy and we're going to re-sign you. They literally just need him to play at least 12 games. Just play 12 games. Deshaun Watson loves him. Yeah, he's a player that can win you your league. He's going to outplay his ADP. He can be a league winner for sure if he stays healthy. Because as T would say, you can take him as your wide receiver 4, where his ADP is going right now.
Oh, your wide receiver 4.
Well, yeah, but that's a legit.
Legit, you can get him as your 4, and his boom games are wide receiver 1 numbers easily.
For sure, yeah.
So
it'd be crazy to see what he could put up on a full 16-game season.
Yeah. And I would love to see it.
Like 1,500 yards, like, I don't know. It'd be crazy. I don't know.
If he stays healthy, and the thing is, he doesn't need 90 catches. He can get you 75 catches for 1,400 yards and like 11 touchdowns.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like, he just...
This year's Devontae Parker?
And what scares me about him is with this shortened season with the whole hamstring, because the thing with burners, it's their hamstring. They're fast guys. It's a twitch muscle. That's where he gets his injuries a lot of the time. ACL, hamstring. So he just needs to, and he's also bulked up. He's gained like 5 or 8 pounds or something, and they're happy that he didn't get hurt doing it. From what I've read, they're like, shit, you did that and didn't get hurt.
But you woke up today, you didn't get hurt. All right, we're on good track.
Perfect.
We're on a good track.
So he's just a player where if he just stays healthy, that's all. His talent is speaks for itself. I would say.
I agree.
For sure. All right, let's move on to our next guy. He played in Miami before.
Miami.
Larry Tunsil?
Kenny Stills. Larry Tunsil.
Part of the
We
Larry
got
Tunsil
Kenny Stills.
I'm about to hit the gas mask with him. Sorry.
We got Kenny Stills goes to the Texans last year. I think that was. Anyways, what are your thoughts on the wide receiver? You about it? You lining them up? 80, where are you feeling on this?
Not
this big boy?
really. I think they went out and they signed Randall Cobb. We'll touch on him in a second. I guess you kind of just shuffle these guys. They're kind of 3A, 3B. I guess I put Cooks as the 1, and then Fuller's the 2, and then Stills and Cobb are kind of, like I said, 3A and 3B. I think if something happens, obviously Cooks and Fuller, they're not the model of consistent health. If something was to happen to one of them or both of them, then I think Kenny Stills would be a guy who's okay. Now he's a hot commodity. Go pick him up, because I think Kenny Stills is a talented football player. Obviously he's had some pretty good PPR or like just he's had some good like fantasy games here and there. But I think the addition of Cobb kind of makes things murky. They still have Kiki QD. We'll see if David Johnson gets a little more incorporated in the passing game as well. But say like Deshaun, he's not. He's outside the top 15 in terms of pass attempts the last 2 years. So not a lot to go around for all these mouths to feed. And if you're thinking Cooks gets his and Fuller gets his, then what is there left to split between Kenny Stills and Randall Cobb? If anything, I think just having Kenny Stills and Randall Cobb, that just helps Deshaun Watson, because that's just more weapons, more playmakers on the field for him.
Yep. You said it.
I'm with the analysis. I don't think I need to add much on there.
Yeah.
Do you, Trey?
I mean, they just got players with similar skill sets. I mean, you got Stills, Cooks, Will Fuller. He is sneaky productive. I mean, in the 4 seasons he's played 16 games, he gets you a shade under 6 touchdowns a season, which is good for a guy who really, kind of flies under the radar. I mean, he did well with the Dolphins, but the thing with him is if Will Fuller does run into Brandin Cooks' head and they both get hurt, Kenny Stills is about to be...
He's about to be the guy.
Somebody you should jump and get, because he's going to be the number 1.
Yeah.
And he's a professional. Like, I feel like him and Deshaun Watson will figure it out. That's obviously if it were to happen, but I mean, that's something you have to keep in mind when you're a guy who's behind 2 guys that are injury prone, like Brandin Cooks and Will Fuller are. Just something to keep in mind. I mean, he will be the guy if something like that were to happen.
For sure. I agree.
But until then, just kick it.
Just kick it. All right, we can move on to the next signing that the Texans were able to grab. We got the homie, used to play in Green Bay.
Oh, my boy.
Randall Cobb.
Go ahead, T.
Goes over there.
I mean, it's just, like I said, there's a lot of mouths to feed. You get Brandin Cooks, Will Fuller, you got to assume those guys are going to be, out there majority of the time. And then, Randall Cobb, he's a slot guy. So it kind of leaves me like, where's Kenny Stills' value here, because I think Randall Cobb will be out there in the slot more than Kenny Stills will be. But he's one of those guys, like I said, if one of those guys get hurt, then obviously his value will boost up. But, I mean, he was, sneakily top 50 in targets and routes run last year. Randall Cobb was. I mean, if you're like in a deep league, multiple flex, whatever it is, he's a guy you can maybe potentially use depending on how, if there's an injury to Cooks or Will Fuller and stuff like that, or even Kenny Stills potentially if he was to get hurt, that's, less targets that, he's battling for.
And he's another just consummate pro who can just step in if need be. I mean, he showed flashes with Dallas. I mean, he looked good with them.
Yeah.
He's a little bit older, but this is all in relativity to football age, but yeah, I mean, he still got some juice left, I think, and I think they paid him 3 years, $28 million, some fucking contract that I thought was crazy, to be honest, but it's right around the realm of like $8 million a year. So they're paying him. You don't pay someone that kind of money to just kick it on the sideline either, So, yeah. And he's still a gadget player. He can take some end arounds. He can do some quick screens. The thing with him is he knows how to find the soft spot in zones and shit like that. So
savvy veteran.
Yeah, exactly. Just knows where to be and when to be there. So I feel like that's a QB's best friend.
Yeah. And
he doesn't get hurt.
I like the analysis, boys. You guys ready to move on to the next team?
I don't know, dude. I have problems moving on. I'm just kidding. Let's see what we got.
Let's do tight end. Do you guys want to speak on Fells?
Bro.
I mean, I don't know. I think I said it off air. He had 7 touchdowns, and we're always talking about if you can get 5 touchdowns as a tight end, that's a lot, and you're usually top 12. But he had 7, and he wasn't even top 15, I think. So yeah, there's just
he's the kind of player where you're like, yeah, he scored, but it's like on 1 reception for 10 yards, and it's like he still only got you like whatever.
He's
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Darren Fells is funny. Yeah. I just watched some funny videos with him in it, and it's just. He's a good player. Big motherfucker though. He's like 6'7".
Oh, big butt.
Yes, I feel like that's almost like redundant when we talk about tight ends though. It's like, oh, he's a big guy. It's like, yeah, dude, every tight end's huge. When you talk about what's his name from the Giants. Anyways, let's move on to your boy. Once was a Miami Dolphin. It's like, dude, does this make you cry when you see these guys just doing so well on other teams?
No, because like you see the talent, but sometimes it comes down to like the organization, the culture of the team. And,
I don't know if I said Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, the culture of the team and the offensive coordinator and stuff like that. How they're using the personnel and stuff like that. I thought that he was gonna beat out Mariota and be the guy there in Tennessee. I think he's better than Mariota, and
that
it's
was
just
one of our most accurate predictions.
Yeah, it was
I think you called it by the game.
T-Rev for sure did call it.
So, I mean, it's just nice to see him actually gets a little bit of credit because, I feel like I was always defending Tannehill for so many years in Miami because Miami's offensive line was so bad. And we just, we're a product of the Adam Gase pandemic. But, so, yeah, he finished as QB 22 last year, but only played – he didn't start playing until week 7, but from week 7 to 17, he was actually QB3. So if you picked up Ryan Tannehill, I feel like we talked about him all the time.
We did
when we were fucking.
Fed the wire.
Fed the wire.
But yeah, he was QB3.
I haven't heard that drop in a while.
Dude, I live that fucking drop.
QB3 from week 7 to 17 after becoming the starter, and he had a safe floor. I mean, he had 18 points in 9 of the 10 games he was there. So I mean, he wasn't blowing the roof off like these Mahomes, Lamar Jackson games. But if you needed a quarterback to just go out there and just get it done for you because you were stacked across the board, or you had a good team, he was going out there and he was doing his thing. But just some crazy good numbers here. He wins comeback play of the year, number 1 in play action completion percentage at 76%. He was the second best red zone completion percentage. So, I mean, you just think about what they want to do with Derrick Henry. They want to run the big boy, King Henry, and then, use the play action. So, good play action. And when they get in the red zone, second best red zone completion percentage. Only the 32nd most pass attempts a game. So, you don't really like seeing that. That number's not sexy because, they are just running the ball a ton. But, I mean, he had the best passer rating, and he had the 6th best pressured completion percentage. So even though he's not throwing the ball a ton, only 24 attempts a game, he's highly productive with those attempts. I'm not sure if he'll be the QB3 again going forward, but I mean he's ranked right now as like the QB 20, I think, overall. I know the quarterback class is pretty deep, but I mean, like I said, here's one of these guys where he's going in the 12th round or later. Like I have no problem pairing up Ryan Tannehill with another quarterback. Say I get a Matt Ryan or a Matthew Stafford, and then I get a Tannehill. I'm perfectly okay with having both those guys. And then now I'll just play the matchups. Like I said, he had a super safe floor. I would like to think that in the second year in the system, you know, it can only get better and be more acclimated with a full 16 games with these guys. So, yeah, you know me. I do love me some Ryan Tannehill. Late round quarterback.
Late round, pick him up, boy. What do you think, Dre? You
see
got
this camera?
target?
Ready? He said everything I was going to say. He's good.
Yeah. Great analysis.
Can we clip that shit, dude? Because
Yeah,
I don't think
I'll clip
anyone
it.
said Tannehill's good before.
Yo.
I've been on the Tanny train. I've been on the Tanny train. I actually one thing
fucking flub.
One thing I actually specifically remember is we were at our T wouldn't even know this. We're at our boy Dev's house for like some party, and one of our homies, Brenton, me and our buddy Kenny, we're like, dude, Tannehill's been balling. He's like, it's Ryan Tannehill. He's like, he sucks. We're like, dog, he's really good. We're like, he's been balling, and then he just kept balling, and we're like, we didn't think he was gonna be that good though. Like everything T said, but sometimes you just need to change the scenery.
What was the highlights we were looking at when Devontae Parker was drafted, and then like the stat underneath when Miami was about to pick was like Ryan Tannehill most sacked like in the past 2 seasons. What was it?
Yeah,
it was something. It was kind of funny. We were looking at that and we were like, well, yeah, no shit. Like look at this.
I mean, yeah, his first couple years in the league in Miami, he was sacked more than any quarterback in like his first 3 or 4 years, and it wasn't even close. It was like he was sacked 80 more times or something like that. It was like an absurd amount, like 50, 60, 70, 80 more times than the next closest guy in his first 4 years. But then on the flip side, he was the 4th most passing yards for a quarterback in his first 4 seasons. So to think that a guy who's been sacked, like I said, almost 80 times more than anybody else in his first 4 years in the league, but now on the flip side has the 4th most passing yards in his first 4 years in the league. I just thought that was kind of crazy to think, like, all right, if this guy wasn't getting sacked every other play and Adam Gase wasn't a fucking idiot, like what could he have really done? So, I mean, obviously he goes to Tennessee. That offensive line's a lot better. And, you know, they're just utilizing him, you know, like play action, you know. And like
and they're doing like play action boots. They're doing RPOs. They're just getting him out in space, you know, rollouts, waggles. They're getting him out there, and it's good and they're making the plays look like they're run plays. So when he's out there rolling out, the defense is moving one with perfect. Fucking
yeah.
Didn't even tell.
And I think people forget how athletic he is.
listeners.
I mean, a former receiver out of Texas A&M.
So it takes a while.
You know, arguably, you know, Mariota's talented, you know, because he was a runner in Oregon. But, you know, Tannehill's a good runner in his own, but Tannehill's a way better passer, especially from the pocket, than what Mariota was. And that's why I knew eventually that Tannehill would take over the starting job here. But, yeah, I mean, like I said, right here on the run, little bootleg passes. So, yeah, like some Tannehill. He's a good late round quarterback right here to grab.
Just one more question, though. But has Tannehill thrown a touchdown to himself, though?
No.
Mariota did.
Because Mariota did
It
that.
wasn't even a touchdown. If you watch that highlight, he was definitely past the line of scrimmage when he threw that ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, but you know,
That was
it's
wild.
tough.
I
I wish I did that in the fantasy playoffs and I had him. I'm like, dog, can you imagine losing to that? But like,
Oh my God.
the QB threw a touchdown to himself, literally.
I think the craziest one
Caught
was I think I was playing against a tight end. I think it was on the Titans actually, and they had the quarterback and I had the tight end, and then it was like a trick play where the tight end threw to the quarterback, and so I was like hyped because I was like, oh dude, hell yeah, Mariota points, but then it like, oh no, that tight end threw it, and so like it completely like evened out the score. I don't know.
You're only
It's kind of funny.
you're only great if you can throw to yourself
Yeah,
or
but that
facilitate.
That play
some
was pretty
sort.
wild.
Yeah.
But we
In
can
the
go.
playoffs.
We can move on to the guy who. Listen, we're kind of sipping the haterade when we talk about this next guy. I mean,
I'm just kidding.
The previous years, I will admit I was sipping the haterade on Derrick Henry, but he came out and absolutely murdered some teams last year, putting 3-4 touchdowns in games. And how many touchdowns did he get in that one game? Was it
74 touchdowns?
Yeah, I mean, he just absolutely was running over everybody. Obviously, the backfield gets a little more complicated this year. What do you guys think? Are you Derrick Henry's getting drafted in the first round over some of these bigger name guys. Are you taking him in the first round? Because I'm kind of fading Derrick Henry still.
I mean, for what he is, I'll probably fade him. I mean, dude had, I had someone be like, oh, he had 2 receiving touchdowns. I'm like, dog, he had a 75-yard screen pass and a 30-yard screen pass touchdown. Like, he literally had 2 touchdowns that were given to him. So he's more, obviously he's a one-dimensional player. They got Darrynton Evans, who's more, kind of more balanced. Derrick Henry's never had more than 18 catches in his career in a season. He's never exceeded more than, last year was a career high in targets at 24. And if you break that down, that's not even 2 targets a game. So he's not one of those types of guys where he's going to hurt you, both sides of the offense as far as catching and receiving and running. But the dude, he got 300 carries. I think that's wild. I don't think he replicates that either. But I feel like the Titans are just going to ride him. So it's one of those things. I think that eventually the productivity is going to dip a little bit. He had 12 rushing he has back-to-back seasons with double-digit touchdowns. He really took that jump his second year after like week 9, and then he just started killing ever since. But he's on a team that's completely, they have the complete confidence in him. They're running the offense around him. They're like, here, it's off of you, and then we're going to go from there. So he's still a true bell cow. Like we were talking about Fournette, he's like a true, through and through. He's going to get the ball every single time. The other team knows it's coming, and they still can't fucking stop him.
Yeah, I think the thing was for the first 2 years that he wasn't really productive, but I totally forgot about this. But looking at some numbers, those first 2 years in 2016 and 2017, he really didn't do much. But I forgot DeMarco Murray was on the Titans. Did you forget?
Yeah,
his rookie year, yeah.
And DeMarco Murray that first year had 293 carries. And then the second year, DeMarco Murray had 184 carries. So obviously, Derrick Henry wasn't getting a ton right there. That third year, Dion Lewis was there. Dion Lewis had 155 carries. So that's still a good chunk of carries.
I think Derrick Henry gave birth to him.
Yeah.
He looks like that's his son.
Yeah. But, just you see the rushing attempts go up each year. 110 his rookie year, 176, 215, and then 303 last year. I think, they finally have decided, hey, this is what works. We've given you the keys to the kingdom. King Henry over here. It's kind of hard because he does offer 0 PPR upside.
None.
So in PPR leagues, it's kind of tough. I was doing a mock draft over here before we started. I just wanted to see, where he would fall and, what players I would want to take over him. It's kind of tough, once you get past, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon, Kamara, who else? Zeke, those guys right there. I'm not sure if I'm touching Dalvin Cook with everything that's going on, but, it got to a point of, okay, it's like Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, or Derrick Henry, and I was struggling to justify taking him there. But with the touchdown upside, if you're in a standard league or even like a half-point PPR league, he's had 4.2 yards per carry in every single season. So it's not like he's been a bum. He's getting it done, and for whatever it is, like don't fix it if it ain't broken. I think that's what the Titans are doing, and they obviously paid him. I know they go out and they get Darrynton Evans. We'll touch on him in a second, but I think there's a scenario where he sees another 280 to 300 touches, and with a 10 touchdown upside, it's in the back end of the first round. I don't know if I could really pass on him, especially with like how obviously I think Michael Thomas and Devontae Adams, those guys, Tyreek Hill, like I'd rather have those guys, Julio Jones, over Derrick Henry. But for what the value is in these middle rounds of these receivers, I probably can't pass up on a guy who's going to get me 1,200 rushing yards and 10-plus touchdowns. I don't know if I can pass that up in the back end of the first round with how deep this receiver class is this year in fantasy. So, he is what it is. I know the PPR upside isn't there, but, the he's something else.
He is something else. But you know what is something else? Darrynton Evans throwing a wrench in things. What do you guys feel? Do you like the guy? Where are you at on the guy?
I just wish he didn't go to the Titans because I think he has 3 down back written all over him. Got 4.4. I actually read he can run into the 4.3s, like high 4.3s, but he's got 4.4 speed. He can catch, and he's not a Dion Lewis. He's built. He's 6 feet. He weighs over 200 pounds. He can go and get it. He can catch. I think he's a stud, and I think it's going to come to show. It'll come to fruition once he gets his chances. I think he's going to get you. Like I read that stat a while ago about third round running backs and how they average a decent amount of carries. I think he's going to get those 80 touches, 80 carries, because I think he's going to show flashes of what he can do. And I think they might even use him in the return game because he's that explosive. But I think he's a perfect complement to Derrick Henry because Derrick Henry couldn't catch a fucking cold. So, I'm all about Darrynton Evans. I'm not mad that he went there. He could have gone other places, but they're going to utilize him for sure.
It's funny going from NFL highlights to these college highlights. Every player just looks so good.
Oh, and for the ones
they're just outrunning everybody.
And the ones that are like, oh, he went to Appalachian State, who actually ended up being ranked when he left. They're actually a good program now. But from what I read, he was actually going to go to South Florida, and the guy who recruited him left South Florida, went to Appalachian State, and he's like, I'm going to go with you to Appalachian State. So that's the only reason he went.
Loyal.
So he held this guy down, but I mean, I'd like to think he's part of the reason they were so good, because I mean, they're ranked 24th. I still remember when they played Michigan, and they were a first-year program. Remember that? Like 10 years ago. So they've come a long way, and I think he's a stud.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: so if you do take the shot on Henry in the first round, is Darrynton Evans a guy that you're like 100%? Okay, I got to get this guy just in case Henry goes down, or
for sure,
in case he gets COVID and he's out for 3 weeks. You think Darrynton Evans can be that guy who steps right in? Like you said, he's got 3 down upside. So you're just like, are you trying to really get him as a handcuff? Because I feel like this year, especially with the whole COVID situation, like it's a more emphasis on really trying to get these handcuffs because. For sure. I mean, like I said, if they get it, it's 3 weeks, and you don't even have to be sick. I mean, we know people personally that they've had it and they've had it for a couple of weeks. Yeah, and you can be asymptomatic, but now it's like, okay, now these guys are out for 3 weeks, so you're for sure grabbing Darrynton Evans then as a handcuff.
For sure, and especially the NFL saying they're going to do like before the game. What is it, like hour or like 45-minute checks before the game? Like anything could happen.
Yeah,
and I feel like he's one of those guys where they don't really have to change their game plan. They could still run it if they want, but if they want to, pass the ball, he's more than proficient enough to hit the angle routes, hit the out routes, the swing routes. Yeah, I think he's one of the more polished guys, to be honest, because he's got the size. He's like an Antonio Gibson as far as like he's got the good combination of size and speed to where he can do it. And he's behind a guy where there's no pressure. He doesn't have to do well,
Yeah.
He's not expected to like ball out. He's got some dude who's literally named King Henry. He just got to just do what he's got to do. You know what I mean? He's like, who's in front of you? Oh, this guy named King Henry. I'm just going to fucking just hang out, not fuck up. But I mean,
could learn.
He's just as fast as, I mean, like we said, it's not like the AFC South screams defensive teams.
Yeah.
I mean, you got Darius Leonard, who's probably your best linebacker you're going to get out of all those teams.
I think the Colts are going to be a good defense.
Yeah, so they'll be good. But I mean, other than that, the world's yours, Chico.
All right, let's move on to the wide receivers. We got this guy who absolutely destroyed it last year.
Dude, Corey
Davis,
I would
say.
These old Miss receivers came out.
Yeah, let's go. We got really AJ Brown.
I wanted him on the Packers so bad.
Yeah,
the Packers. They don't want to draft any help for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no, they don't. They don't need him. They don't need it.
AJ Brown, I had him in a couple leagues, and I was pretty happy about it. Let's just say that. Okay.
Yeah, he actually won me my fucking league. So
nice.
I'll take him.
So you heard me earlier talking about Tannehill being the number one play action completion percentage, and AJ Brown was a big recipient of that. Hashtag interesting stat. He had 646 receiving yards of his 1,051. Those came on play action passes, and that was the most in the NFL. So, like I said, this offense is just clicking with King Henry, do the play action, and A.J. Brown. He's one of those guys where I think you saw right here, like throw a little slant, and he's been able to make things happen. And then there's another crazy stat right here. I was actually looking at it. He only had 84 targets. It's not a lot. I would like to think that number will go up, but if it doesn't, it could be a little alarming for where his draft price is. I think he's been going in like the 4th round in a lot of drafts. But every wide receiver that was in the top 24 or that finished in the top 24 in terms of PPR and half-point PPR, they all had 110 or more targets out of the 24, except for 2 wide receivers that made the top 24. One was Diggs. He had 94 targets, and A.J. Brown was the least amount of targets at 84. So that just is like a red flag for me. So it's like all right, he did put up some crazy thing. He's the only rookie in the Super Bowl era to record 1,000 yards and also have 20 or more yards per reception. So if he doesn't get over 100 targets, I'm not sure if he's going to really reciprocate that that ADP where he's going at, the fourth round ADP he's going at. So he's one of those guys. I'm probably avoiding him. I think the guy's super talented, but for that draft price of where, in the fourth round, like I said, only 84 targets. Everyone who finished in the top 24 had 110 or more, except for him and Diggs. So that just is a little worrisome for me. So I might be just fading him for that draft price. What do you feel about it, Dre?
Yeah, the draft price is pretty high. I mean, third round. I mean, that's up there, especially for it's just a high risk, especially when you're in redraft and it's tough to get a sec. I mean, running backs are one thing. Second year running backs will take, but second year receivers on a very run heavy team, it's pretty difficult to walk in there with a lot of confidence. One thing I do like, I mean, they said it last week. He's improving on his route running. He's just trying to refine his route running and get better. It's just good to see that he is trying to do that. I was looking, like we said, he came on strong at the end of the year. So the last 6 games, this is crazy to me. He had 25 catches for 605 yards and 6 touchdowns in 6 games. So he averaged 4.1 catches, 100 yards and a touchdown. And then
that's insane.
I put stupid. I literally put that's fucking stupid. I mean, for a rookie, and I get it, whether they're up or they're down or this or that, but it's like, dude, teams know that's their guy to go to. After a while, they figured it out.
You got a whole year of game tape now to watch.
And even that shit, at the end of the year, everyone knew where he was going. Everyone found out Corey Davis is boo-boo, which we'll get to in a minute. But the fact that teams still couldn't stop him. I mean, a rookie to get 6 and one of them was rushing. But he still averaged 4 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. So I think he will get those 100 targets just because I feel like you said, he was the number 1 in the NFL in play action yards. So I think they're going to utilize the whole Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown. I think they're going to find more ways to get him open, honestly, whether it's quick screens
with you on that.
Quick screens or end arounds. I feel like they realize he's a fucking playmaker, especially once he gets the ball in his hand. He looks like a running back. So I think they're going to try to use him in different ways, maybe scheme him open a little bit more. But yeah, because I mean the Delaney Walker looks, Corey Davis is going to get less looks. Derrick Henry doesn't command a lot of targets, so I feel like it's going to open up for him. Is he going to be as efficient at 20 yards per reception? Doubt it. But yeah, like you said, I mean it's iffy to get him at that price tag. I'll probably skip him just because he's so high. But I wouldn't be surprised if I try to trade for him halfway through the year because the dude's. I mean, he pops. I mean, you can see it on film. I mean, he passed the eye test for sure. He's a rookie.
I will say that I'm probably going to avoid him in drafts just for his value. But I will say that they definitely saw it works with him. And there's obviously. He was able to help the team out a lot in instances like this we're watching right now. If you're listening to audio, check out video.
I think that was more Tannehill than
for the ones that aren't watching. They just ran an RPO, which is Derrick Henry. RPO, he pulled it back and they hit a slant. I know it sounds crazy. It works in Madden too, so it's fucking wild.
But yeah, that being said, I just think that I agree with, too. I'll agree with you that they're gonna get AJ Brown more involved. So I do think he will go up in targets. But yeah, so I did watch some interviews with AJ Brown too, and he just was very
humble.
He was very humble, but also was like, I want to be the number 1 receiver in the league. Like he was like, obviously everybody says that,
like driven.
But the way he almost had like a chip on his shoulder, very adamant about like I'm going to be that. It was almost like when Kanye West met Jay-Z the first time.
He's like
I'm Kanye West.
He's like, I want to be the Corey Davis of
no, he's like,
football.
wait, no, I don't want to be Corey Davis.
So what do you got? So his ADP is like the 3rd, 4th round. I think that's too rich for my blood. There's other players I'd rather take in that area. Do you guys all agree with that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think obviously the guy's super talented. I'm not saying he's going to be a bust or anything, but I just think that price tag for if he doesn't see 100 targets, like I said, it's only 2 guys under 110 targets finished in the top 24. So if he doesn't see 100 plus targets, it's kind of hard for him to replicate that. Yeah. He had like a once in a lifetime season almost for what it was. Like the numbers you said right there, what was it, 25 catches, 600 something yards,
605 yards and 6 touchdowns.
I mean, that's insane when you really think about it.
That's
so
crazy.
I will say that
So when would you feel comfortable taking him? Like back end of the 4th round, 5th round?
That's what I mean is I'm probably not going to draft him.
And in standard, he's going to be more valuable because for that reason alone.
Yeah.
4 catches, 100 yards. I mean, he finished as a wide receiver 1 as a rookie in standard.
There's just this is what I'll say is that there's so much wide receiver depth in this draft, in fantasy drafts this year. I'm just not. That's why I don't. If I'm going to draft someone in those early rounds, like I'm going to draft a wide receiver it's like a guarantee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So because otherwise, once you start getting these 3rd, 4th rounds, I could wait a little bit longer and grab a wide receiver in these like we were talking about earlier in like the 6th, 7th round, grab a Brandin Cooks, who you know what I mean. I'd rather just wait and grab one of these guys versus grabbing AJ Brown, who could that could have been a ceiling, not a floor last year.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. The more I watch these highlights, I know they're highlights, but I might fuck around and fuck around. I'm like, damn, he's out there putting the moves on this dude. I might have to actually.
I think it's crazy. You forget how big he is because, you see that picture with him and DK Metcalf with their shirts off. They're flexing, and Metcalf obviously he looks like a monster next to him. Metcalf's a big boy, but I think you forget how big AJ Brown is. I mean, he's a big boy.
Well, I actually when in that interview it was on Bussin' with the Boys, which is actually the Titans guard.
Tyler Lewan. Taylor the one, right?
Yeah, I think so. He's one of them runs it. But anyways, so like they were talking to him, and he was saying that in that picture that everybody freaked out about DK Metcalf, they were working out, and like AJ Brown was like, "Yo, let's take a picture," and DK's like, "Nah, like I'm not trying to do that," and then he like convinced him to, and then all of a sudden it was like DK Metcalf looking ripped.
Like who's this guy next to you?
And AJ Brown's like, "Bruh, I was right there, dog. Like what the hell?" So he was like all upset about it. But it
backfired. Funny. I mean, he's a
little extra chip on your shoulder. He was actually saying DK Metcalf's gonna be Calvin Johnson, the next Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, well, we'll see what's good.
Yeah, I mean,
there's that run play. There's that run.
Yeah,
I mean, he is good. He's good.
Speaking,
it's just the more you watch it, you're just like
the draft price to me, like I said, it's just
it's
very high.
It's very steep.
A little too much for me, but I mean, I think he's good.
But we'll take him as
good.
Third
receiver, bro. Receiver.
Listen,
Don't
I'm
fuck
gonna
around.
name my team third receiver.
The third receivers?
The third receivers.
That's great.
Listen,
great.
all right, let's move on to. We spoke on it just a second ago.
I like it.
Just a second ago. Dude, I'm burping like crazy. We're going to talk on Corey Davis. He's a guy. What do you guys think?
I mean, here's a guy. I think he went 5th overall a couple years back.
Yeah.
But he's yet to top 900 yards or 5 touchdowns. I mean, last year, 2 games at 20. He had 2 20-point games, but then the rest of the games he had under 10 points. So I mean, he's pretty much labeled a bust right now. I would love to see him go to another team. Like I would love to see him go to the Packers.
Oh man.
I think if he was the 2 behind Devontae Adams and with Aaron Rodgers as the quarterback, I think you could really see him shine. I think he's just kind of like, it's like Tannehill scenario. Tannehill in Miami just wasn't there, but, he goes to Tennessee and boom, kind of resurrected his career. I think Corey Davis, I'm not sure if they're going to re-sign him, for when his contract's over. But I would love to see him go to a different situation, a different scenario where he could, potentially be the number 2 behind a really good player. I mean, just kind of like shot out of the cannon. I mean, imagine a scenario where like they get him on the Falcons, and he's the 3. I think that, you could really see him emerge as a really good player. I think the guy's talented, but, sometimes you just, you get drafted to a team and they're not really good or the scheme doesn't fit you. They try to force you to be the 1 when you're not. You're the number 2. But, yeah, for fantasy-wise, though, do not draft list.
Yeah, no. I mean, granted, the Titans were 31st in the NFL in pass attempts. That shit still don't matter, honestly. He had 1 game of 7 or more targets last year. He didn't have a single game of 8 targets. Is it because he's not getting the ball enough? No, it's because he's just not getting open. That's what I would say. I mean, he's just not creating separation. Or, like we said, I mean, he's had a pass-heavy offense, so maybe he does need to change the scenery because he's built like a number 1. I mean, 6'3", got speed, got a good catch radius. And what's funny is when you see him on the field, he fucking looks big too. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of baffling to just see how much he doesn't produce.
I mean, for the longest time, he was behind Mariota, and Mariota obviously wasn't the best in terms of passing the ball. Tannehill a little bit better, but he A.J. Brown's there. So I think if A.J. Brown wasn't there, maybe Corey Davis could have emerged. But, I mean, A.J. obviously leapfrogged him in the pecking order as the number one receiver in the Titans offense. But, yeah, I think if Corey Davis could go somewhere else, we can maybe potentially see what he could be.
And he had 2 years of no A.J. Brown. You know, he had the chance, but they're just different players. A.J. Brown's just a lot more explosive.
He's the Mariota effect.
Yeah, he's got a sandwich. I mean,
the Mariota.
I mean, it goes
effect.
to show you. And the good thing about it is we're saying he needs a change of scenery. Well, he's for sure going to get it because the Titans didn't pick up his option. So he gone after this year.
Yeah.
I mean, unless he absolutely balls out of his mind.
What would be a good team? Like I always say the Packers because I feel like they need
Saints.
a number two. The Saints, I mean, they have Manny Sanders now. My man crush, Manny Sanders. I mean, what would be a good team that needs like a number two receiver, you know, that you could potentially see? I mean, for instance, let's say the Chiefs get rid of Sammy Watkins. Like, you know, he retires after this year because he's going to retire this year. I mean,
Andy Isabella.
To get Corey Davis, you're not paying a premium. You know, you're giving him pennies in terms of a NFL contract because he hasn't put up any production. I mean,
Patriots.
Imagine if he was to go to the Chiefs,
what I was thinking
you know, and
too,
be that
Patriots.
third receiver on the Chiefs. You know, you could really see him shine potentially. But
And not to be a dick, the only reason I said Isabella is because I just read an article saying that the Chiefs should
what about
trade.
the Jets?
Should trade for Andy Isabella. The Jets would be good.
Yeah, they're losing. What didn't they just didn't somebody just get hurt there?
Honestly,
Min's hurt his hammy, but he should be all right. And they got Perryman, they got Jamison Crowder, so I don't think they need a receiver.
yeah, I do the
But what do I know?
Patriots. I would do the Browns as a number 3 receiver.
The Dolphins.
Yeah, you could take the Dolphins.
Yeah,
I mean,
Dolphins got
he
actually
just-
actually is one of our deeper positions.
the Panthers would be maybe a good team for him.
Yeah.
I mean,
Listen,
luckily for him, you know what? Maybe the Vikings, if Justin Jefferson, I mean,
Yeah.
you know, they could use a depth. Maybe the Lions, if they get rid of
the Buccaneers
Marvin
need another
Jones.
receiver.
The Lions
Yeah.
would be a good one, I think, actually. You know, him and Galladay could be a nice little 1-2 combo
Yeah.
still for Stafford going forward. But
Yeah, definitely the Buccaneers, though, Mike. I agree.
fantasy-wise, though, yeah. Kaka.
Let's
Go back to college, dude. I think he has a year left of eligibility.
Double corners on or double coverage on AJ Brown. Get Corey Davis open.
I'm down.
Possibly.
I'm down.
I don't know.
I'm
Just
with
a scenario. But let's move on to our boy Jonnu Smith, Titans
Zing.
tight end. I feel like we've talked about this guy so much. We talked about him literally on the last podcast, but we'll talk about him again. What are you guys' thoughts? Light him up. This year's Darren Waller.
I don't know. Is there a template for Darren Waller? I'm just
Judge.
kidding. I don't know. Just kidding. No, I mean, I like Jonnu Smith. Made the jump last year. I have just a couple stats, just random numbers that I wrote down. I don't know. Let's see what it says. He was 8th in yards per reception at 12.5. He was 2nd in yards per target at 9.8. My favorite stat was he was 2nd in the NFL amongst tight ends in target separation with 2.4 yards. So he was getting open very easily, which also coincides with the next stat that I have, which is Tannehill's QBR was 120.3 when he was targeting Jonnu Smith, which was 6th in the NFL. And then his catch rate was 4th at 77.8%. So, I mean, he's top 10 in everything I said. He's top 5 in 4 of the, or top 6 in 4 of the things that I said. He took a fucking toss, 57 yards, and outran almost everyone and almost scored a touchdown. Tight ends don't really get tosses like that. And then, I mean, just eye test alone, if you saw in the playoffs, he had an amazing 1 yard or a one-handed catch. That was just dumb. He's just a matchup problem. He's gonna run up the seams. I mean, I think he's past Corey Davis as far as a number 2 option in the pass game, I would say. Now that Delanie Walker's gone, so there's no Delanie Walker. It's just him as far as for tight ends. So I think he's gonna do well.
Yeah, he's one of our favorite for the whole podcast in general. He's one of our favorite like breakout players, a guy who, you know, most people or the average player isn't going to know about. You know, he's obviously going in these later rounds, but I mean, I think this is a guy, he's a back end tight end 1. I mean, those numbers that Dre just said right there are all really good. You know, and like I said, what you think what the Titans want to do. They want to run the ball with Derrick Henry, run the play action, and, you know, Tannehill, best play action completion percentage. And if Jonnu Smith's getting open, I mean, you know, he's going to find him. You know, and if Corey Davis isn't getting open, I do agree with Andre. I think that Jonnu Smith is the number 2 option in this pass attack, not Corey Smith. You know, in 6 of 7, on his contested catches, 6 receptions on the 7 contested catches targets, but only 1 end zone target. That was kind of shocking to me. I think that number shoots up tremendously, especially when we get in close. You got to think, hey, we're inside the 5. Play action to Derrick Henry, Jonnu Smith over the top. Tannehill, he's been able to, put it on the dime. So, yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of Jonnu Smith. He's going to be a guy who probably doesn't get drafted in some leagues. And then, he could come out in week 1 and have a monster game. And he's going to be a hot waiver wire pickup.
Yeah.
Like Justin Nakua.
Yeah, and then just a couple more. This is more of a team stat. So the Titans ran 2 or more tight ends for 437 snaps, which was actually 4th most in the NFL, or you can call it 13 personnel, which was 1 running back, 3 tight ends. The stat that I thought was crazy was the Titans targeted their tight end on 25% of pass plays, which was 8th highest, but they ran such a heavy, or their play calling was so run heavy that their total targets for tight end was 17th most, even though they particularly targeted the tight end 25% of the time. But the fact that they run it so much, it was middle of the road, which is a crazy stat. So you figure it's going to come, regressions to the mean, stuff like that. And then, the crazy stat I had was Jonnu Smith had 14 missed tackles forced out of 35 catches, and he only had 1 less than Travis Kelce, who had 62 more catches, and he only missed forced 1 more tackle missed than Jonnu Smith did. Kelce had 130 targets. Jonnu Smith had 44.
I don't know why would you read that stat. Isn't it forced missed tackle?
Yeah, but it literally says
I know it says missed tackle
forced,
but maybe some Indian wrote that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's just crazy. Like you said, he's pretty much, we joke around with Henry that he's got no receiving upside, but he's a freak of nature and it's hard to tackle him. Jonnu Smith is basically a Derrick Henry-like guy, but he can't catch the ball.
Yeah.
And when he catches the ball and he's running on the field, it's like you're trying to tackle Derrick Henry in a sense. In a guy where he's going in like the 12th round of your drafts, it's a low risk, high reward. So, if you want to wait on tight end, you're going to get this guy in the late rounds. And how many times do you, most of the time, these late round picks, you're taking, flyers on them. They're like lottery tickets, if you can hit. And if not, you're dropping them or, you're picking someone else on the waiver wire. But, here's a guy where you're getting in the 12th round, but he could potentially be your tight end 1, going forward. Or if you want to match up, base tight ends, you get him and you get a guy like Gesicki in the later rounds or something, or a guy like Hayden Hurst in later rounds. You can play both those guys and play the matchups. But, yeah, I think Jonnu Smith's in for a breakout season.
Yep, I agree.
I like it. I like it a lot. We can move on to the final team. This for some reason, I don't know. We went more in depth on this episode or something, but but we're out here giving you the facts and the stats. So we appreciate you listening. All right, so we're gonna move on to this guy. He's out here switching teams, going from the Los Angeles Chargers to the Indianapolis Colts. We have Phillip Rivers behind center. What do you guys think about Phillip Rivers? I know we were talking over text how we're hyped on a lot of these receivers here. Does that mean you guys are hyped on Phillip Rivers?
I actually am. Yeah, I think Phillip Rivers is going to ball this year. He's going to the best O-line in football. I have a couple stats. He's a lot. Anybody's better when they don't have pressure on him. But I read out of Phillip Rivers' 10 picks, or of the 10 picks that Rivers threw, basically what they're saying is they were either out of the game, so a lot of his interceptions were either it says he had multiple interceptions that were more than 3rd and 17 or 3rd and 19, and 2 of his picks a receiver fell. So they're saying that his true QB or his true interception rate, he should have only had 4 interceptions. And they're saying with a clean pocket, he was 8th in the NFL in completion. He was 11th in the NFL per attempt. And that's but with a clean pocket. Without a clean pocket, he was 2nd worst to Jameis Winston in interceptions when he was getting pressured. And everybody knows that the Chargers had a fucking horrendous O-line. And even with that, it says per Next Gen Stats, his completion percentage was 2.1 higher than expected based on his depth of target. So even with a bad O-line and pressure, he still exceeded what he was supposed to do, even though he didn't do that well. 2.1%. And then his QB rating was 5.1 higher percent than the NFL average with a bottom O-line. So it's just, if you give Phillip Rivers a protection, he's gonna be good. They said he was only 0.5% behind Kirk Cousins in 8th place on throws aimed further than 10 yards downfield, and that's with a shit O-line. So, and he's got some targets to throw to. He's got T.Y. Hilton, got a couple rookies that we'll talk about, but just like anything else, I mean, he's got to get protection. But I feel like if the Colts do what they've been doing as far as being a good old line, I think Phillip Rivers is going to be fine. He's not going to run anywhere. That's for fucking goddamn sure. So
yeah, he does not run the ball.
So yeah, I mean, his numbers. I was even surprised. I knew he was good because I do own him in a league, but it's just crazy to his arm strength has gone down. But they said that he only threw the ball. They're like a vertical passing game with the Chargers. Only 7% of the ball or of his interceptions were vertical throws. So he didn't throw interceptions throwing it downfield. It was more, short intermediate passes.
Trying to hit Keenan Allen on his 180 targets.
150. Yes, exactly. And they said he had 3 interceptions behind the line of scrimmage. So they were getting tipped.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was a multitude of things, but I think it's all stemming from the offensive line. So I think Phillip Rivers, I think he'll be okay.
I mean, yeah, I touched on Tannehill, how bad the offensive line in Miami was. Obviously, he goes to Tennessee, offensive line way better, and you kind of see what the offensive line can really do for a quarterback when he has some time to kind of go through his progressions, especially a journeyman veteran quarterback like Phillip Rivers. But, I mean, last year, pretty bad year for him. Finished as QB 18, but prior to that, the last 6 years, QB 11, QB 8, QB 14, QB 12, and QB 12. So he's kind of like that back end QB 1, like a high end QB 2. I mean, he's a guy where, we were talking about it. I do think, we'll touch on T.Y. Hilton. I think T.Y. Hilton, is a good receiver. I'm pretty high on Michael Pittman as a rookie. I know Dre pegged Paris Campbell to be this year's DJ Chark as a second year breakout receiver. I mean, you still have Jack Doyle, who's a decent tight end. They go get Trey Burton. So, he's got some weapons here. So,
for sure. I
do think that Rivers is going to be a good quarterback. I think, he, like I said, he's a quarterback where you can match up based on him. You draft a Tannehill and you draft the Rivers. You draft, I always say Matt Ryan because I think, he's good.
Because he's going to get benched a couple weeks.
Yeah. But Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan and Rivers in a sense. So, yeah, I do like Rivers. And then just some numbers here I thought that were kind of crazy. Well, I was thinking like, okay, I'm high on Pittman Jr., Dre's high on Paris Campbell, T.Y. Hilton's there. He's obviously going to get his, is there going to be enough to go around for all these mouths to feed? And I mean, in 5 of the last 6 seasons, Phillip Rivers was top 12 in terms of pass attempts. So yeah, he is slinging the ball a ton, 4,000 or more yards in 11 of his last 12 seasons. So consistency right there, you're going to get 4,000 yards pretty much, and then 26 or more touchdowns in 11 of the last 12 seasons as well. So as long as he can breathe and he can walk on the field and the offensive line is going to block for him, I can't imagine a scenario where he doesn't put up another 4,000 yards and 26 or more touchdowns, especially because he does have some weapons here, in Pittman Jr., Campbell, and T.Y. Hilton. So yeah, I'm not against drafting Rivers, especially because like he's one of these quarterbacks you're getting in the later rounds, and I think Rivers knows like, hey, he's on his last leg. He's maybe got 1 or 2 more years to really try to make a playoff and Super Bowl run. So he's probably going to be trying to ball out as much as he can because he might only have 2 years left in the tank until he retires.
Well, I don't know if you remember, he already committed to be the high school coach for some team in like Alabama or somewhere in the South. He's already signed to be, once he retires, he's going to be the head coach there.
Yeah.
So they're literally just waiting for him to retire. But like I said, I'm rooting for the guy. He choked 1 year with the Chargers. I mean, he ran into the Patriots. Like I said, I fuck with Phillip Rivers because he played with a torn MCL in the playoffs like a boss. So I'm rooting for the guy. I hope the Colts do well. I hope they make the playoffs. Everything that comes with it. I just want to see Phillip Rivers give himself another go.
Yeah.
To just to do some things.
I mean,
because I think he's a gamer. That's one thing. That the dude is a gamer. So
I mean, he's been in the league for forever. So he knows. He's seen it all. He's seen every blitz package. He's seen every type of defensive formation. So he knows how to read a defense. He's
seen every plan B, every pregnancy test.
He's seen every hospital,
every baby shower
in the Southern California area.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm not mad at Phillip Rivers. Like I said, it's this back end,
those
quarterback you can draft here and then matchup based him.
And think about it, him and Eli got drafted the same year. This dude Eli retired. You know why he retired? Because his ass got retired. He knew goddamn well if he were a free agent, nobody's gonna call him for a job.
Yeah.
Phillip Rivers got a job before Cam Newton, before Jameis Winston.
Nobody wants third and down syndrome on their team.
Exactly. So Phillip Rivers, obviously we're not the only ones. Teams saw that there's obviously it was Frank Reich, his old coach, but the fact that teams were signed, he got signed like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's not like he's lacking the talent. I mean, he's obviously fallen off a little bit, but he's got it still, I think.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited to see what he could do with the Colts because they have such a good O-line. Quentin Nelson ain't letting shit pass.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
Except for Phillip Rivers.
I'm curious to see what happens with this backfield. Got a little more complicated, but we got Marlon Mack. Was actually doing pretty well last year, but they went and drafted Jonathan Taylor this year. Are you still targeting Marlon Mack as like a late round running back because of you run out of value in running backs pretty early, or you're scared of this Jonathan Taylor hype?
I'm not. I mean, I think Marlon Mack's got 1 year left on his contract in Indianapolis, and then he's gone.
For sure.
Obviously, they draft Jonathan Taylor. I think he's going to be the guy going forward, especially in dynasty drafts. You know, he's locked in top 3 pick for dynasty drafts.
Yeah, you fucking stupid if you don't.
Especially behind that offensive line. But I mean, there's just for Marlon Mack, he did finish as RB22 in PPR, RB20 in half-point PPR. But I mean, there's just looking at his numbers. I mean, there's no receiving upside there. I mean, they got Nyheim. We'll touch on him in a second. And then I was just looking at this. Like, he hasn't played a full 16-game season yet. And only 2 of the 14 games he played 70% or more of the snaps. So he's not like a bell cow, volume running back. 7 games under 50% or less of the snaps. And then in 7 games, he had 10 points or less in half-point PPR. That's just not a guy I want on my team, especially with the addition of a younger, more athletic, faster, better, stronger, whatever you want to call it, Jonathan Taylor that's there as well. So I'll be passing on Marlon Mack, and I'll be getting a lot of Jonathan Taylor. We'll touch on him in a second.
No, I agree. I mean, he's still young. He's definitely gonna get signed elsewhere. Maybe the Chargers will be good for him if Joshua Kelly doesn't work out. But yeah, Jonathan Taylor's just. I mean, he's bigger, stronger, faster, better. I think it's one of those. It's just a matter of time. Or if he tweaks an ankle and misses any time, it's over.
Yeah.
Like the minute Marlon Mack misses time.
Yeah, he hasn't played a full 16 games, so I mean it's only a matter of time until you would think that he's injury prone, he's going to get hurt again.
Yeah, and I don't know if you already read, the Colts were saying that Jonathan Taylor's running through defenders already in camp. I mean, it's hard to beat a dude who's bigger than you, weighs more than you, and he's faster than you. I mean, it's and they use a draft capital that they used on him, and just knowing the kind of runner that he already was, as far as just the prestige that he carried, running for 2,000 yards back-to-back years or whatever it was. He does have the tread on the tires, which is the iffy part. But yeah, he's just a better runner. I mean, straight line speed all the way around. As long as he can adjust to the NFL speed. If Marlon Mack does that, Jonathan Taylor's scoring.
Yeah.
So
are you drafting any Marlon Mack or no?
No.
Me, I'm not. Mike?
No, I'm good.
I'll take Jonathan Taylor though.
Yeah.
But no. And it's someone. Hey, I'll take him as like a 4th RB.
I think Marlon Mack is going a round or 2 ahead of Jonathan Taylor too. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to take the younger, like you said, bigger, faster, stronger running back at a discount. So yeah, I think I'm all out on Marlon Mack this year. Especially, I think he's not going to be there. He's not a part of their future. I think he's going to be a guy, and like Dre said, I think there's a scenario where we could see a game where Jonathan Taylor just explodes, and that could be the end of Marlon Mack, where he's just kind of a change of pace guy, come in here and there. He'll he'll spell Jonathan Taylor here and there. But I mean, this honestly is like a 3-headed backfield. If you want to touch on Nyheim Hines for a second right here, or Jonathan Taylor.
It doesn't matter which one.
We go Jonathan Taylor.
All right, let's do it.
But yeah, Jonathan Taylor, the young rookie out of Wisconsin, like Dre said, a lot of tread on the tires. The last 3 years, 299 carries, 307 and 320. I mean, he ran a 4.3940, was fastest for running backs.
Big boy.
He's a big boy. This guy's just like I wrote here, great between the tackle runner. I mean, and he goes to like the dream scenario where he's just, this offensive line is the best offensive line in football probably.
Yeah.
And it's just, you get a guy like that who has home run ability. Like, you just give him a crease and he's gone. He's gone.
He's super gone. Yeah. I had someone tell me like, oh, well, he's been spoiled going to Wisconsin with big O lines and da-da-da. I'm like, what the fuck you think the Colts are? The Colts are like the Wisconsin of NFL.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
That's literally what they are. He went from the best O line in college to, I don't know, the best O line in the NFL. He's like, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see him doing. I mean, unless he's one of those guys where he just doesn't have any vision. But they don't run the outside zone scheme where he's got to like pick a spot and go. It's more just like, here's a run play, find the hole and just go. Yeah. And he's gonna, college or not, no one's catching him. I mean, very very few guys in the NFL can even keep up with that kind of speed. As is. Yeah,
I'm curious to see in a lot of these drafts who goes first, Jonathan Taylor or Marlon Mack. I think Mack might. Obviously you're going to get the reports. You're going to get the reports coming out like, oh, Mack's the starter, he's the guy. But like I just said here, there were 7 games last year where Marlon Mack played under 50% of the snaps, and that was not with Jonathan Taylor. The talent was not as good as Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, Jonathan Wilkins and fucking what was that other dude? Jonathan Williams.
So yeah, you get a guy like Jonathan Taylor in there. I can only imagine. It's going to be some type of running back by committee. But yeah, I'm trying to get as many Jonathan Taylor shares as I can because, like I said, Marlon Mack hasn't played a full 16 games, and I think if there's a scenario where they're riding the hot hand and they're in that playoff push, and I think Rivers could even come in and chime in and be like, hey, look, you want to win a Super Bowl? Like, we need Marlon. I need Jonathan Taylor out there. Like, Marlon Mack's not getting it done. There's obviously no receiving upside in his years in Wisconsin, but I think the guy's a capable enough pass catcher to go out there and get it done.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he was conscious of it, so his target increase went up a little bit when he was in college.
Catches the pass, right as I say.
Yeah. So he was trying to show that he can do it, just because that was like one of the big knacks he had was, that he was so one-dimensional. But he could do it. It's just they weren't really giving him a shot to do it. I mean, is he a Derrick Henry? No. But I think he's proficient enough. I think if he can work at it, I mean, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
So I think he can learn from Nyheim Hines, and I think as time goes on, he'll be able to get you 40 catches.
Yeah.
30, 40 catches. It's not.
I just get scared. With these rookies when it's not guaranteed that he's going to be have the role. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because it does get complicated. I think the situation with, obviously, like you guys are saying with the offensive line, I just think that where you're drafting him, I don't know. It's not like a clear number one. And it's like you saw David Montgomery last year was drafted super early, like 3rd round, but that's because they didn't really, besides Tariq Cohen, which was more of like a scat back, random guy, they didn't really have a guy there. Marlon Mack was pretty productive last year. So I feel I get you, but if you're drafting him, it's not a guarantee.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, yeah,
it makes 100% sense.
Yeah.
I think he could be a league winner, though, if you can sit on him.
Yeah. But what do you guys have as ADP? Because I was looking at it.
I would say he's in the 5th round, dude.
Yeah.
I think he's been going in I was going to say, I think he's been going in that 5th, 6th round area over there.
For sure.
But, I mean, I'm taking, if there's one Colts running back I'm taking, it's him over Marlon Mack, and it's not even close for me.
It's weird that in PPR format he's so much higher in this fantasy football calculator I'm looking at. Yeah. It's like 2 rounds higher, but like you guys are saying, he's not really the pass catching guy. But but that's cool. We can move on to Nyheim Hines.
Yeah, so this is like the pass catching running back. I mean, Nyheim Hines, like I said, this is kind of a 3-man workhorse back here. I mean, Nyheim Hines, he is that shifty little scat back. If there's one guy who's going to be the guy out there catching passes, who is like, I guess you want to say the Austin Eckler of the offense, that's Houston Rivers. I mean, 58 targets and 81 targets his last 2 years. So, I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where that number doesn't stay the same, where he doesn't see another 60. Yeah, I was going to say 60 targets. So, I mean, the receiving upside for Marlon Mack or Jonathan Taylor, it's not really there because you have a guy like Nyheim Hines who's going to come out here and he's going to get you those, he's going to be the guy out there on those passing downs.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's going to be the sleeper, it could be him.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Rivers likes to use his running back, so like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if he carves himself a good little rollout. Standard maybe not as much, but yeah, and he you know what? For as small as he is, he does a good job of not getting hit.
Yeah,
he'll go out of bounds. He minimizes the damage, but I see him.
Yeah, see him just mossing someone.
Yeah, sneak. He's an athletic dude. I mean, he's shifty for sure. So I mean. Yeah, I think he's not going anywhere. Shit, I might take Nyheim Hines over Marlon Mack, and just based off where they're going to get drafted and what they're going to do. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying to draft Marlon Mack over Jonathan
Taylor.
No,
not even alluding to that. No, I was just saying in general, just the productivity alone, because Marlon Mack, Jonathan Taylor is a better runner, and Nyheim Hines is a better catcher. So there's really nothing Marlon Mack does better than both of them, other than like not finishing a season.
I wonder if there's a scenario where one of these running backs gets hurt on another team, and they kind of know that the Colts are, they're probably going to ship off Marlon Mack or not re-sign him. Could he potentially get traded halfway through, at the trade deadline? Could we see Marlon Mack be like a hot name at the trade deadline? And that's, like you said, maybe you just draft Jonathan Taylor, you hold on to him. But then, if they do hypothetically trade Marlon Mack at the deadline, then it's Jonathan Taylor's keys to the kingdom.
And then he's an RB1.
Give me the championship belt.
Yeah, because, like if Gurley gets hurt or something and the Falcons want to go get him, there's so many scenarios where some shit could happen.
All right, you guys want to move on to the wide receivers?
Let's do it.
We can go first with the main guy, the main man on campus. We got T.Y. Hilton. Phillip Rivers comes in, and this could be helpful for the wide receivers. T.Y. Hilton. Are you guys buying T.Y. Hilton shares? I know you guys kind of faded T.Y. in previous years, but I don't know how you guys feel this year.
I personally like T.Y., especially we keep touching on these like middle round receivers that have value. Like, if I stack up on running backs heavy, give me T.Y. in the 5th, 6th round all day, every day. He doesn't have a high touchdown upside, but 1,000 yards in 5 of his 7 seasons, minus last year when he was hurt for 6 games. And it just kind of alludes to Phillip Rivers right here. Like Dre said, when he has a clean pocket, when he's not getting hit, Phillip Rivers is a guy where, he can get the ball to the receiver, especially if you're getting open. Sure. In like those last 3 years, Keenan Allen's really exploded with Rivers as the number 1 wide receiver. He's had over 1,100 yards in all 3 of those years, 149 targets, 136 targets, and 159 targets. So now I'm not saying that T.Y. Hilton's going to get 140, 150 targets, but is he going to get me 125 targets? Yeah, I think so, because I think he is the number 1 in this offense, and I think Phillip Rivers will find him. And I think going in the 5th round, it's just crazy. Like you said, you're getting guys like Brandin Cooks and T.Y. Hilton in the 5th round. It's just crazy to me. Like, I would much rather feel comfortable drafting those guys in the 5th or 6th round than taking a gamble on A.J. Brown to repeat this crazy season he had in the 3rd round and miss out on a running back. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying?
100%. Yeah, that's kind of the what I was saying earlier. 100%. 100.
I love T.Y. Hilton, especially because his name's T.Y.
Yeah, with your boy Ty. No, with me, with me, it's he's like the worst kind of. So I don't know how to say this. So he's not hurt, but he's like the worst kind of hurt. He's never injured. He's like hurt. So he's always on the fucking.
He's hurt. He's not hurt, but he's hurt.
He's never. It's a game time decision.
Exactly. I'd rather
start him or not because I don't know. It's like literally the minute before.
Exactly.
When you know.
He's always questionable or always doubtful. Or there's always something wrong with him where I'm like, dog, and that's the worst for me because he could tweak it and then that's worse. I'd rather just know you're not playing and put someone else in than put him in the game and then halfway through the game, like, oh, he retweaked his tweaked hamstring and now he's not playing. And I'm fucked because you're not finishing the game. So I was,
especially on like Monday night games or something like that.
Yeah, just especially where he's going. So I looked after week 8, he only played 4 games and he never passed 68% snap percentage. So even when he was in the game, he wasn't in the game. He was there, he was here, he was there, but he never eclipsed the 68% snap percentage number, which to me is just alarming for a number 1 receiver. Because you would think a number 1 receiver is at least going to be on the field, but he's just fucking
hurt. Do you think that was because he was banged up though?
Yeah, he was always like, he didn't miss games. That's the thing. People are like, oh, what are you talking about? Like he played in 14 games or 15, and he does, but he's literally on the injury report for 8 or 9 of those games, and you don't know what he's going to do. Last year in the 14 games or in the 10 games he played, he had 37%, 52, 59, 68, 83, 52. He only had 4 games of over 89% snap percentage. So it's like, I just can't trust it. I just don't know he's just always tweaking something.
I will say if you're sports betting, T.Y. Hilton wins them games. If you look at the percentage of wins and based on games that T.Y. Hilton starts, it's like pretty crazy.
Well, you know what it really is. If Andrew Luck was in the NFL, I would take T.Y. Hilton in the top 3 rounds. 100%.
Maybe.
Andrew Luck loved T.Y. Hilton. He was balling. Yeah. And that's when I liked T.Y. him and Andrew Luck they just had it. Even when he was hurt, he was way better with. I mean, Andrew Luck is a very good quarterback, you know. So
Phillip Rivers has a lot of kids. Maybe he takes T.Y. Hilton under his wing and his own child.
Well, he does have 12 kids, so he could be his 13th kid.
Exactly.
See that?
Number 13.
Let me just say this though.
The stars are aligning.
Obviously, you know, like I said, Keenan Allen, all these targets. You know, Keenan Allen, one of the best route runners in the league, and you know, Rivers, a savvy veteran. You know, if he's open, he's finding Keenan Allen.
Same number.
You just alluded to, you know, T.Y. being really good with Andrew Luck. I mean, I think T.Y. Hilton's a really good receiver, and I think he's got the ability to get open. So
yeah, I
think he'll be like a poor man's Keenan Allen for what Rivers can do in this offense.
For sure.
I mean, like, you know, in the 5th round, I mean, yeah, I'll take that all day, every day. You're not going to get a ton of touchdown upside, like I said, but
he'll get you 1,000 though.
I mean, yeah, I think if you get him as your wide receiver too, like if you stack up on some running backs and, you know, yeah, I like T.Y. Hilton. He's in a contract year too, and I saw he came out and said that, you know, you're going to get the best. Obviously, you know, he's going to say this, but, you know, he said you're going to get the best T.Y. Hilton you've ever seen. But, yeah, he is in a contract year, so even if the Colts don't re-sign him, which I don't know if they will because, you know, they do have some young talent in Michael Pittman Jr. and Paris Campbell. But, I mean, if he wants to get signed by anybody and he wants to get, you know, $15+ million for a couple years, you know, he's going to have to go out there and put up some numbers and perform. So, yeah, I'm more on, like, the positive side that he's going to come out. And as long as he can stay healthy, obviously that's the thing that Troy's saying, if he can just stay healthy, I think he's going to put up some good numbers for you right here. A good number 2 receiver.
Stay healthy, T.Y. Hilton, please.
Yeah, if he stays healthy, he can be worth the pick. That's just what. Look, he probably got hurt right there. Look, he's like, oh fuck, my knee fucking hurts, man. All right, that's all.
Listen, we can move on to the homie,
Justin,
one of your favorite guys. Yeah, you want to come on camera, Mr. Justin? We could go into Paris.
Walk backwards, dude.
Paris Campbell.
This
is your boy, Dre. Andre Navarro's boy, Paris Campbell.
Yep.
You like this boy. Look at these highlights. They won't even give.
Yeah, no, he's yeah, I mean, Frank Reich loved him last year. He was super unfortunate. Had 4 different injuries. It's like hand, hernia, ankle, something else. But it was what's funny is he had 4 different injuries and still managed to play some games. Had a touchdown. His numbers were actually pretty close to DJ Chark's rookie year as far as their lack of productivity, whether it was because they weren't on the field or injuries or whatever the case may be. But he's going to line up in the slot. He runs a 4.3 40. Him and Isabella had the fastest 40s. He had actually the fastest 40 in the combine 2 years ago. I mean, think about it this way. McLaurin was good. He was the number 1 receiver at Ohio State easily. He was head and shoulders above everybody else. So I think they're gonna, from what I've been reading, they're trying to crazy, but they said they want to use him, or they see him like a Tyreek Hill as far as just going all over the field, just using him in the slot, outside, blow the top off of a defense. He's 6 foot, you know, not crazy big, but I mean, dude's a burner. Yeah, as long as he could stay healthy and everything they're saying, he's gonna be good for them. He's the only real speedster that they have. T.Y.'s really not like that. The next guy we're going to talk about is more of a possession, you know, a big body guy, go up and get it. And then you have this guy who can just pretty much do everything else underneath, whether it's, you know, the quick slants or the over the top vertical play. So
you could give him like end arounds too,
everything
like that. Yeah, little bubble screens so you can take it to the house. So yeah, this was your second year breakout player.
Yep. Look out.
Yeah,
I'm going to look to draft him.
I mean, a guy who, like I said, who's battling injuries, you know, didn't really get on the field, didn't really perform. So you're going to get a lot of people who don't know who Paris Campbell is. You know, he might go undrafted in a lot of leagues, but then boom, he comes out in week 1 and he has some crazy good game. And
7 for 85.
Yeah, now he's the number 1 waiver wire pickup for that week. But you listen to AVG Fantasy and boom, you're drafting him because we told you to draft him because he should be drafted in every single league.
Do it.
But I mean, yeah, the guy's explosive. He's a playmaker. I agree with everything Andre said right here. I know he's probably a little bit more higher on Paris Campbell than me, but I still think that, you know, he's a good playmaker. You know, when you have other weapons on the field too, you have a T.Y. Hilton, you have Michael Pittman. You know, you have good running attack. You know, you can do play action. You know, it only makes Paris Campbell's life easier.
Yeah.
Because you know the defense can't really focus on just one person. You know, and for him, he's one of those guys where. Yeah, he doesn't need a ton ton of touches
Yeah.
or a ton of catches to make things happen. He could literally take one catch 60 yards to the house for a touchdown.
And they took him in the second round, so they did spend a good amount of draft capital on him. It's really one of those things where they're just sitting back waiting. They're like, all right, let's just watch it pan out. And from what I've been reading, like he's in the facilities, like actually I have a whole just so people are like, oh, where did you get it from? I got it from Frank Reich, the head coach of the fucking Colts.
He texted you?
It says, Paris is a very smart player. He and Phillip had a chance to throw together a number of times before we even got started here. So I think they've been able to start and build a chemistry together. He just needs to keep taking the next step. That's from the head coach.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're all about him. They're grooming him, for success. And, I mean, the fact that he's reaching out and he's already worked out with Phillip Rivers multiple times before they got to camp for a guy who really didn't play much just speaks volumes about what he's trying to do just as a player. So I think he personally knows that he didn't really see the field much, and I think he's trying to do his thing. So if I'm in the league with you, you better fucking get him, because I'm gonna get him if you don't.
For sure.
That being said,
the Messiah has spoken.
I think you're a little bit less high on Paris Campbell because you're really high on the next guy, Michael Pittman Jr. coming from USC.
Yeah.
Who else came from the USC?
Andre
The
Navarro.
USC. The boy Juju Smith-Schuster.
No, I mean, I'm a USC fanatic. That's my team. But go ahead, T. Talk about the boy.
Yep.
Yeah, so Michael Pittman Jr., I mean, I don't know. I feel like, this receiver class, all these rookies, was pretty deep. So he was not getting as much love as he should have gotten. I know he only really did it 1 year in his senior year at USC. But, I mean, this guy is just, to me, he's the next Mike Evans. He's like the next Vincent Jackson. Just a big body guy. He's got good hands. I think he had the lowest drop rate in terms of, catching the ball. So, if he hits his hands, he's catching it. Not a huge target guy, I think it's going to be in his rookie year. But, for instance, we've seen guys like Mike Williams. He put up 10 touchdowns on 60 targets. And then Mike Williams as well, another big guy, over 1,000 yards on only 90 targets, which hasn't been done since 1992 or something like that. I think it was a crazy stat we talked about. But so, yeah, he doesn't need a ton of targets to be productive. I think, basically he's going to be the Mike Williams for Phillip Rivers in this Indianapolis offense. And yeah, I love Mike Williams. I mean, I do like Mike Williams, but I do love Michael Pittman Jr. I think he's going to be a stud. I think he's one of the most surest, can't miss NFL prospects in this entire draft class. I think he's one of the most safest players. His dad played in the NFL for the Buccaneers for a while, so yeah, his dad's obviously going to be able to groom him and tell him how to be a pro's pro and hey, what to expect. I think he's always going to want to have a chip on his shoulder to be hey, I want to, my dad did it, I want to do it too, like Dre said earlier, sometimes people, they get drafted, they think oh, I made it, but it's yeah, you made it, but you got to keep, you got to keep the foot on the gas pedal to keep going, baby. Where I think, Michael Pittman, he's only going to get better as he goes. So yeah, especially if you're in a dynasty, I love this guy. I always tell Dre to go out and trade for him.
Trying.
But yeah, I think the touchdown upside, I think, you could, like I said, T.Y. is not a high touchdown upside guy. I can't imagine a scenario where, even as electric as Paris Campbell is, I can't imagine a scenario where he's, getting 10 touchdowns. But, could there be a scenario where Michael Pittman Jr. leads the Colts in touchdowns? I think that's a possibility for sure. Bold prediction. Bold prediction, I'll call it right now. Michael Pittman leads
fantasy
the
football
Colts
prediction.
So
in touchdown receptions.
So this is the only thing that I thought was wild. So, I mean, he is known as a big guy, like you said, Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, because he is big. I mean, he's 6'4", 223, which was his combine numbers. People are always big on 40s, which he did run a good 40. But the two most impressive things that I saw, I mean, I watched it personally, but then I just wanted to make sure. My man Michael Pittman Jr. he ran his short shuttle. He ran it in 4.14 seconds, which was the second best among the entire wide receiver class at 6'4", 223. And then he ran a 3-cone drill, which to me is one of the more important ones, where it just shows your quick bursts and explosiveness. He ran a 6.69. He was one of only 4 wide receivers in the entire combine to run it under 7 seconds. And he's big. He's not fucking... So just think about that. At 6'4", 223, he was one of 4 receivers that did that, on top of running a 4.52, a 36.5-inch vert, and a broad jump of 121. I mean... and he didn't drop any balls, and he comes from a pedigree where his dad was in the NFL. I mean, I just don't see him not doing well.
Yeah, I mean, there's already reports. Like, one thing I like about him too is like, okay, you get guys like CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, he's better. Like Jerry Jeudy,
better.
These guys are better than him. Henry Ruggs are better, but he steps into a scenario where I can't imagine where he's not on the field 85, 90+% of the time. I mean, it's going to be him, Paris Campbell, and T.Y. Hilton on the field a lot of times.
For sure.
Even when you go into 2 wide receiver sets, I think there's going to be a lot of times where he's on 2 wide receiver sets.
For sure.
So he's going to be on the field a ton. Where, like you said, you're getting some of these guys like CeeDee Lamb, obviously better talent, but you got Gallup and you got Amari Cooper over there. Even some of these other receivers like Laviska, Shenault, and stuff like that
Justin
we touched
Jefferson.
on. Yeah, just like these guys aren't going to be on the field as much as him. So I think on the field obviously presents more opportunity for you, and and if Rivers can just chuck it up to him like he did with Mike Williams, I mean the touchdown upside is through the roof with this guy.
Yeah, landing spot couldn't have been a better spot for him. I mean.
Did you hear that, Michael Pittman Jr.?
The Colts did a really good job. I mean, they nailed Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor in the second round. They get Paris Campbell in the second round last year. So
yeah,
they're doing it right over there in Indy.
Yeah, they got Darius Leonard as a rookie, bald. Yeah. That dude Roxon.
Quentin Nelson, first team All-Pro both years.
I still remember seeing that stat where they said before any rookie had ever played in the NFL, he had the. And it's funny because I remember saying it out loud. They're like, the highest percentage to make the Hall of Fame is Quentin Nelson. And I'm like, how the fuck do they know that? He hasn't played a game.
Yeah.
And now I'm just like, never mind.
Yeah. All right, we jump into the last guy right here, Jack Doyle.
Doyle rules.
Oh,
Jack
Doyle.
Oh, before we move on, I just want to say, Michael Pittman, dude, I see the vlogs. I put up vlogs too, bro. Sub for sub. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, don't be on. hey, come on, bro. You see that? You see that?
Actually, Michael, there was his wife pranked him and was like, said that he was pregnant or his girlfriend or whatever.
That's fucked up.
And you could see in the video he's like he didn't know whether to be happy or
think it was a prank.
Yeah, because he was like, I think this is a prank, but I gotta pretend
I'm happy.
He's like, babe. He kept saying yo, is this real or not? Because I need to figure out how to react.
He's like, because I might break up with you and fuck up my image right now.
It's super because they have a vlog channel,
and that's another thing. He's a special teams fucking monster.
Yeah.
Block the punt right there.
But hey, follow Mike on the vlogs, dude. Don't fuck around.
Yeah. Don't mess around. Sober vlogs, dog.
Let's do it.
Check it out.
Let's do it.
But let's move on to Jack Doyle. Here's some little highlights here, baby. What do you guys think about the tight end in Indianapolis? Do you think with Phillip Rivers there, it makes a difference, or what do you guys feel?
I think the only reason there's relevance is because Phillip Rivers is there.
Yeah.
Like T said, I mean, you got Pittman, you got Paris, and then you got T.Y. It's tough. I mean, could he get 5 touchdowns, the magic threshold number that T has? Yeah. I just don't see him being uberly productive. I mean, and they still have Mo Alley Cox?
Yeah.
And they got Trey Burton?
When we were doing the tight end rankings, I wanted to throw him in my back end, like 12, and I was like, okay, yeah. But then, because obviously – Rivers, Hunter Henry was good. I feel like because the Gates Rivers connection for years. So Rivers looks for the tight end, and Doyle's a decent tight end. He's had some good years with Andrew Luck, and obviously they kept him over Eric Ebron. But yeah, I was looking at the depth chart, and they went out and they signed Trey Burton. We were talking about him off air, and then they do have Mo Alley Cox too. So I'm just not sure how much upside he has. I think if anything, it just helps Rivers. We're talking about how we think Rivers could do good with all the weapons he has and actually having the offensive line to block for him. So I think just having a guy like Jack Doyle, who's a capable pass catcher and blocker, just makes this offense as a whole better and helps Rivers in general too.
Yeah, no, yep, you pretty much covered that all the way around.
Well, what do you guys? I know you said earlier. What do you guys think about the defense with the Colts?
Solid.
Are you gonna draft them if you miss on the Steelers?
This is one of my favorite defenses to actually draft. I know we touch on weight on defenses. I feel like the Colts defense it's not a sexy name,
but they get it done.
But the Colts defense is pretty good. I mean, they got some good defensive linemen. They go out and they get Armstead it's Armstead, right? From the
DeForest.
Oh, okay. They get DeForest Buckner from the Niners. They trade a first-round draft pick for him.
Worth it.
They have Darius Leonard, who's an all-pro middle linebacker. They have Malik Hooker, who's a savage safety. I'm really hoping the Dolphins actually get this guy next year in free agency. But Really good safety. They go out and they get Xavier Rhodes. I know they would always joke around and say the roads are closed, but not no more. He hasn't been that good, but he's still a decent corner out there.
For sure.
So yeah, I like
still
this.
lock down some guys.
I think I think he needed a change of scenery.
Yeah, I do. I like this Colts defense a lot. I think it's going to be I think this is going to be a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a really good defense. So yeah, this will be one of those defenses when I see, obviously you're going to get those runs in the draft where, your teams are going on defensive runs. You're going to see the Bears, the Patriots, the Steelers,
the Chargers,
the Chargers. Yeah, the Chargers are another one that's really good too. But I think the Colts is one of those teams that's like they're going to slip because it's not a sexy name. But I'll be happy to draft the Colts in every single one of my drafts, and I'll walk away okay with that.
Yeah, if you miss on the Steelers defense, which is for sure going to be number 1 defense next year.
I love the Steelers defense.
I'm more just upset. Like, how are you gonna do my man Jack Doyle with a 2.5-minute highlight video? Like, that's all he's got.
What's funny is that, but when I'm doing these, it's almost like I do a little bit of fantasy analysis based on the time length of these highlight videos because
it's 2
when
minutes,
they're shorter,
young.
when they're adding in effects where they pause the play like that to make it longer, like that just shows that there's not as many.
Yeah, he's got 6 slow motion videos, and it's still look at that.
It's like water splashing on the ground. Yeah,
but Jack Doyle, dude, do it.
Yeah, so go for it if you would like. But yeah, that's all we got for that's it on the AFC South division breakdown. We got one more division left to break down.
I thought we had one more team. I was like,
no.
I'm just playing.
We only
a long one.
Probably one of our more longer podcasts we've ever recorded. But listen, thanks for listening. That was the AFC South division breakdown. I don't know why I have such a hard time saying that, but tune in on the next episode should be the AFC North division breakdown. This has been episode 37 of the AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Go leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
Go on a subscribe
hit us
spree.
up.
A subscribe spree.
Truly, if you like this video, I will like you in real life. Michael Pittman Jr., hit me up, dude. Let's fucking collab, bro.
Dude, don't fuck around. Hey, if you follow him, he'll drink. Real shit.
Actually,
water.
Maybe
water.
Yeah, I'll drink some water.
He'll drink.
No, I don't know. I'll tell you a certain situation. I was tempted, but I didn't do it. I'll tell you off air. Anyways, thanks for listening to the AVG Fantasy Football Podcast. Is there anything I forgot?
Dude,
sorry this episode was a little bit longer, but if you got all the way through here and you were able to get some fantasy information, but you know what? I'm happy for you because we did our job. We gave you the extra steps you need to take on your fantasy league the correct way. Just subscribe, baby. Check us out. Oh, I was going to show you guys. I kind of wanted to play this on here. Do you think that's appropriate? Play Hard Knocks on the.
If you have to think about it, it may not be.
It's my favorite part of
my parole officer told me.
I think we should do little recaps of Hard Knocks real quick, though. I just think that this was my favorite part of.
When
Justin Herbert is no. It's a different guy. I don't know. It's a rookie right here. Let me just turn the volume up.
Is that Joshua Kelly?
No.
Damn it.
But yeah, really quick.
Let's do it. Let me hear it.
This is target practice.
Oh wait.
We will not move on until we hit the bullseye. Gotta hit it. Boom! Good ball. One to the right. Good shot. Beautiful
ball.
I love his balls.
I mean, hey, he spins that bitch. Not the balls.
Oh, bro, all I see is Mike Williams at the end of that.
We cover so much damn ground.
Third down. Gotta make a play. Oh, yes, sir. Yeah, I love his balls, bro. Good ball. Good. Great ball. He said I love his balls. You know what I fucking hear.
He's like, yo, shut the fuck up,
you know what I fucking meant.
That's so funny.
It's like, bro, how old are you? Grow up, but it's still funny every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
He continues to go up to go up to him and be like, bro,
Your balls,
your
bro.
balls are so nice, dude.
And he's like from Oregon. He's like, dude, thanks so much, bro. You're too much.
Yeah,
You're too much.
Right here. See, look, Darius Bradwell. That's what it was. But yeah, if you haven't watched Hard Knocks, go check it out. It's actually pretty good.
I think he gets cut at the end of this episode.
I'm gonna go watch it after I record the new
What are you
episode.
talking about yourself, Dre?
But yeah, thanks for listening, guys. A little extra Hard Knocks, dude. If you fucking haven't checked it out, if you don't have HBO, bro, sneak peek, baby. We don't even work for NFL, but it seems like it we do. Okay, we are out, boy.